Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of South Summit, and it's my incredible pleasure of being with you today in this Catalysis stage to be dealing with our space tech vertical. You can stay, guys. Stay, it's gonna be fun. There you go. So, before we start, my name is Alex. It's been a pleasure sharing this morning with you here. You've probably seen me around with my hat. But this stage and this track gives me special feeling because I've been a very big fan of space for a very long time. I've been pushing to create a space tech track at South Summit for 4 or 5 years now. So the fact that we're here today makes me extremely happy. And not only that, I'll tell you like a very brief story. When I was much younger, my dad took me several times, to the European Space Agency tracking station outside of Madrid to see the putting into orbit of the Venus Express. And I cannot tell you, I mean, even now, I get like goosebumps with the experience, with losing connectivity with the satellite. It went into orbit and it went around Venus. So they lost connectivity for 20 minutes. You could see mission control going like, no signal, no signal, no signal. And 28 minutes later, Robledo Chabela Deep Space Station went, we have a ping. And I cannot tell you how that feels. As an engineer myself, all the work that goes behind all this stuff is so incredible. The fact that we don't see more fireballs is already amazing. And I'm very proud of everyone that's gonna be here with us today because it's really incredible what space tech is achieving and all the years that the people that we've had here have been doing. So, to start our panel, I wanna welcome an incredible first fireside chat to be talking about space, the new frontier for business, and the new structure frame for Spain. Spain, for those of you that don't, well, I'm guessing that everyone here knows this, but I'll just say it. Spain is at the forefront of space technology in the world. So I want to welcome our first incredible panel. So please welcome the great Miguel Bello, Spanish Space Agency Director, Comisionado para el PERTE Aeroespacial. Miguel, pleasure having you here, an honor having you here. And to join in the conversation, please welcome the great Noelia Sanchez, co-founder of Arribes. Enjoy.
So thanks, Alex, for the presentation. I'm really happy to be here with you all, but also with Miguel. He's the director of the new space agency, but he's much more than that. For me and for all the space sector in Spain, he has been working for a long time, and he has worked in the public sector now, in a public institution, but has done everything in the private sector. He founded a company 20 years ago, so he knows about this entrepreneurship issue. Miguel is the director of the Space Agency, the National Space Agency, but he is also the director of the PERTE. Maybe we can start by understanding what the PERTE is. What is this project? Which are the objectives?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Noelia. Thank you for the words. And thank you for the invitation to the South Summit. PERTE is a special plan. It is a strategic plan to recover the economy. The PERTE comes from next-gen funds. Next-gen, those are European funds, which is about 750 billion to recover the industry in Europe from the pandemic. And part of this goes to direct health issues, but part of that goes to the industry. Half of that, something like 300 billion, go for grants, and half of that goes for credits. Then Spain has a big part of this, about 70 billion. Now, this week, the government approved an addenda, a delta of another 8 billion. That means we are about 80 billion. And with these funds, the idea is to select strategic sectors. And airspace has been selected as one of the strategic sectors. And an important budget is devoted to promote the sector and to prepare the industry for the challenges that we're facing. This is originally was about 4.5. Originally was about 4.5 billion. The total now with the addenda will go for more than 5 billion in aeronautic and in space. And this is not all public. It is 50% public, but 50% is private investment. That means this is not just a government activity. There are three players. It is the private sector, the public sector, and the academia, and universities and research centers. This is a three sides of the triangle. Then, in this PERTE, there is some part devoted to aeronautics, like innovation. The main challenge is to reduce the footprint of the aviation. I mean, zero emission. That means hydrogen, electric, and the use of drones. This is the most important part for the aeronautic. And for space, it is to use space for climate change. We are planning a constellation of 16 satellites to fight against disaster, helping disaster monitoring, climate change events, together with a quantum distribution key system from space. There are many ambitious projects in space, and one of those projects is the creation of the Spanish Space Agency. I mean, this is in a nutshell what is the PERTE, which in fact there are 23 different activities in total for that about 5 billion investment, public and private.
So we have just learned that the PERTE is much more than the agency, but I think the agency, the national agency, is quite significant, and it has been requested by the space industry for a long, long time. How has the process to create the agency has gone?
Well, the process is difficult because, well, first of all, we create now the agency, but doesn't mean that Spain is new in space. I mean, Spain started in the 60s. It was an agreement with NASA for the Apollo missions. In fact, the Apollo mission used Madrid station. There are three deep network stations, which is Australia, Madrid, and Goldstone. That means we are in the space in the 60s. Spain founded the European Space Agency. That means the Spanish industry is very strong, but in the governmental level, there were 11 ministries dealing with the space issues. It's innovation, it is transportation, it is defense, it's agriculture, it is ecological transitions. I mean, and the idea is to join all those competences in a single entity, in a space agency. And the work was difficult because you had to go to all the ministries to take competences, people, and budget. And this is the last thing that the ministry want to do. Then it was quite hard. We created a council with all the ministries. We wrote the statutes. The statutes were ready. We started in September. In 6 months, we got the statute approved by the Board of Ministers. Then that was March last year. The first council meeting was 20th of April. Then we have about 1.5 months live is the Spanish Space Agency, and now it's working. The next process is the site of the agency is Seville, and now some people doing space in different ministries has to move to Seville. Now we're in the process of moving the people and hiring new people for the agency.
So everybody is running and pushing for this super quick creation of the agency. Which are the main objectives you have?
Well, the agency, first of all, we need to define a strategy. First thing is to do space strategy. This is important because you have different ministries, there are different goals. Then we need to have a national goal. Then this strategy has to be converted in programs and plans. This is the second step. We have to do the national plan, the national programs. Third objective would be space law. Many countries have a space law. We do not have a space law in Spain. I mean, Portugal, New Zealand, Australia, they have a space law. A space law, what that means? Who can launch a satellite? What are the insurance requested? Who can certify that you can launch? All this should be written in a law, and we have to prepare this. And our third objective will be to draft this, to send it to the parliament, because at the end it's the parliament who has to approve it. But at the same time, we need to, and this is very important, we need to engage private sector. We have to foster investment in startups and entrepreneurs. We understand that the space, you know, 30 years ago was an institutional issue. Today, space is really vibrant. Today, space is commercial. Today, there are many players, many entries. And the agency has to respond to where space is now. Then one of the main goals is to be sure that startups entrepreneurs with a technological base can match the proper venture capital funds, and we have to be there helping for this. This is an important activity of the agency. But also international representation. When a given country wants to talk to Spain, they didn't know to whom, but now they have a given agency. Last week, we received the visit of NASA administrator. It was here with us 3 days. In this meeting with NASA, We signed the Artemis agreements that Spain will join NASA and other countries for the moon and the Mars exploration. We signed on Monday an agreement with the Mexican Space Agency. Yesterday, got an agreement with the Malaysian Space Agency. That means we have a voice. But also for our international representation. I mean, in Brussels, most of the space activity are now a European issue. Then our diplomat in Brussels, wherever they discuss a space issue, they have to send a report to 11 ministries. They have different reports, and they have to take what is the main position of Spain. Now there will be a single body taking that. I mean, there's a lot of activity, a lot of function, which will go to the Spanish Space Agency.
Miguel, you mentioned two issues. I would like to have a bit more details, maybe. First one is, which are the particular lines for support entrepreneur in the space sector that you are going to put in place?
Well, we already have one. We was started in CDTI that we will assume for the Spanish Space Agency, which is Invierte. This is a tool to invest in startups, and said that if the government invests because they really are confident in a given technology, a given company, give confidence to private sector to also join those investments. Then we want to somehow foster private investment by doing public investment into the companies. This is one of the lines. Another important line will be many funds. They do not have the expert to evaluate the risk. I mean, many venture capital, it's not that they don't like risk, it's that they don't know how to assess the risk. Then we would like to be helping funds to assess the risk of technological programs. This is something which, this is, I think, the problem in Spain and in Europe compared to the States. In the States, most of those funds, they have experts in the space, and they can very well evaluate the risks. And we want to be this player. We want to be a partner of the investing entities, helping them to assess the risk.
And the other issue you mentioned is this collaboration with other countries, other international institutions. Which is the geopolitical situation, and how can it impact the national space strategy?
Well, space is living in Spain and in Europe a unique moment. It is really, we never have a situation like the one we have today. We have, you look to first Spain, then Europe. If you look in Spain, we have the recovery plan. The recovery plan is injecting in space hundreds of millions. We also use the recovery plan to increase our contribution to ESA. Our contribution to ESA just 8 years ago was 150 million per year. Today is 300. In about 5-6 years, we multiply by 2. And we got a compromise for the next 5 years of 1.5 billion in ESA programs. All this come back to Spanish companies. That means this is an increase like ever had. Then, in addition to that, there is, in Europe, everybody realized that the big challenges we have, which are the main studies of Europe. It is the Green Deal, it is the digital transition, and both space play a key role, because this is the way to see what is our situation, this is the way to mitigate disaster, this is the way to solve the digital bridge. Then Europe is dedicating a unique amount of money into the space. The new big European program for space called IRIS². IRIS² is a few hundred satellite constellation for secure connectivity. And this is a program which is starting now, which is new, apart from Copernicus and Galileo, which are the two big projects of Europe. But there is also another component strategically, which is defense. Ukrainian war showed that space is an operational domain. And up to now in Europe, space was only civilian. But a few weeks ago, Europe has released what they call the European Union Strategy from Space for Security and Defense. And that will change, and there will be a new customer, which is defense, because some satellite has been destroyed in orbit. And now, in the past, we have 3 domains, which were land, sea, and air. Now there are 5 domains. It is cyber and space. Then that brings a new activity that was not before. All this is transferred in that the situation that we have, the amount of the budget for space programs is larger than ever in Europe and in Spain.
And this situation where we have the defense component is an opportunity, a challenge. Which are the other challenges that can also impact entrepreneurs in this sector?
Well, this is an opportunity because, I mean, you look to the States. NASA space budget is roughly, let's say, 20 billion, but MOD budget is 30 billion. I mean, it is larger than NASA. Then this is a new player, this is a new activity, those are new projects, new programs. But it's not just
defense in the sense that intentional attacks. It's defense in the sense that there are many risks which are posed by the space, and we have to face, like the risk of space debris, the risk of collisions in space, the risk of potential near-Earth object who can collide with the Earth, the risk of space weather. There are many risks which are not intentional, but which are related to defense and security, which affect all of us. And the space is what we can use to protect us from all those risks.
Mm-hmm. So we have talked a lot on the institutional aspects and how the space agency can support the sector, but I would also like to discuss a bit more on your personal experience in the sector. As I said before, Miguel has worked for many years, and he founded a company which now is one of the largest one in Spain in the sector. 20 years ago, he founded a startup when we didn't talk about the startups yet at that moment. You faced some challenge at that time, and I'm sure that the challenges are different. How would you compare that moment for creating a space startup 20 years ago and the moment we have now?
Well, first of all, the word startup didn't exist. Then this was, it was also, there was no private activities in space. They were all institutional. I would say, well, there are in fact two moments. No, it's about 40 years ago. I was the very first engineer in a company. It was a spin-off of the university. It was 1984. At that moment, there was really, Spain was at the beginning of space companies. Then the challenge was that there were no venture capital, technological fund. There is no private investment. There was not at all in space. Then the question is, you have to grow by organic growth. You need to have experienced people. That's why at the very beginning, it was university spin-off, was some university department working in the companies. Then entrepreneurship at that age was basically universities spin-off and activity. And the difficulty is how do you fund projects? No? When, for instance, when I was in the private industry, Noelia, she said I funded, but she is a co-founder of that company. Then it's not only me, we both co-funded the company. And for instance, as an example, it's something I always talk. When we did the very first Spanish private satellite, commercial satellite, was called Deimos 1. That was 2004. That was nearly 20 years ago. We went to the banks because there were only banks financing. There was no venture capital. You can only go to the banks. We were to a very big, a very well-known bank in Spain, and we present the project, and they love the project. That's the best project that never been presented. Don't worry, you get the money. We have only to pass by the risk department, and the money will be yours. You can imagine, it will never pass the risk department. And what we were told is a pity, because satellite, we don't know, but if that would be real estate never lose their value. It will always, and that was a few months before all real estate dropped down in Spain. It was a big problem. That means that the problem is that there was no tradition. There was nobody was investing in space. But now things changed. Now I'm amazed. Obviously it started in the States. In the States, you remember Skybox. There were two graduates from Stanford, two very young guys, just recent graduate, went to a bank, got 100 million to do Skybox. That happened only in the States. In Europe, this is difficult to happen. But they are investors, and we have here in the audience people who have been fighting with this, have been very successful in getting investors, and they're also investors here. That means that things have changed. Now the scenario is different. The same problem is still there. How do you assess the risk of a high technological program? And this is the main challenge.
But you are right. At that moment, probably the people founding a space company accumulate hundreds of years of experience. When we started Deimos, I think among the founders, we had like 100 years experience altogether. And now we see very young people founding their own space company. We have several of those later on in the other slots, and it's really different. More maybe on a personal again side and technical side, we have been talking about the challenge of finding investment, but there are other many challenges, and I really would like that the audience know a bit more about what you have faced along these years, and which are those challenges, and which is maybe the one that you will highlight, because I really know how many issues you have gone through, how super interesting aspects you have been able to start. which is the one you always mention?
Well, it's difficult. You mentioned in my life what would be, well, at the very beginning I was working on interplanetary trajectories. This is in fact what I know very well how to do. I mean, the other thing, I get my level of incompetence. But
Not true.
the real thing was then I was very happy because I was calculating the flyby trajectories of flyby for most of the European mission, like Rosetta, Giotto continuation. That was, I'll say, an important challenge. But if I have to choose one, maybe the most difficult because it has the complexity to get the funds, was to fund privately and to launch the first two Spanish satellites with Deimos 1 and Deimos 2 were difficult because, well, we need to fund it and to get it funded and to get it launched and to get it operated and to make them profitable. Maybe this is the most important challenge.
Yeah. And I remember at that time that that was a good example of the difficulty we had in Spain. Is we needed, if I remember properly, to launch those satellites, to go to these different ministers, to get the license for launch, the license for operate. So it was a journey, and I expect that the new agency will be the unique window.
It was funny because we asked a given ministry how we can launch the satellite, what will be the permission we have to do. Then this ministry asked to another, and then someone said, Miguel may know that. He asked me, do you know how you can satellite?
Yeah.
Satellite? Then I got the question back. But now our hope is the agency can solve those issues.
Yeah. So that's all for us today. We had other people coming. We will have a slot on investors, and then we will have a slot with companies working on the sector, and a third one later on. And the startup competition. So maybe one thought for each of these three main groups: startups in the sector, the industry, the traditional industry, and the investors.
Well, for startups, fly high, be eagles. I know some of those new companies in Spain and Europe. There are unique ideas, they're unique technologies. You are brave. Think high. Go eagle. Please don't be shy because you have capabilities. For in traditional industry, they have to partner. Now it's life of partnership. Space is about partnership. They have to do projects. They cannot be fully integrated. They should get all these companies. And investors, the same. I mean, space, it is the future. I mean, if it is a future, it's a space. And we have to face it. And for the investor, that should be a real domain where they should deeply invest.
Miguel, thanks a lot. It was really, really a pleasure.
Legend! Come on, legend! Thank you very much, Miguel, for joining us. Been a pleasure. So, I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of space tech companies around, so that makes me very, very happy. And so we are starting, so those of you that want to come in, please jump in, jump in, jump in. We still have spaces here on this side, and we'll change the stage. So we're going to be talking about maybe the mother of all things. I mean, Miguel said pointed out at something very, very important. And I think that for all the space tech companies that we have around, it's really critical. Doing risk analysis in space is really, really hard. So having someone that has the experience that can actually assess you on checking certain things is kind of important. Maybe if they had listened to someone like Miguel, SpaceX wouldn't have destroyed the launching pad a couple of months ago. But they didn't listen, so listen to the experts. Now, the other part that's really, really hard to do is to finance space technology. I was once talking with a company and they said, well, you know, the problem is we need to have contracts before we even build anything, because if not, we won't be able to convince the investors to give us the money, and that maybe our satellite, our spaceship, whatever, is gonna blow up. So investing in space with the horizons of investment is really hard. So to talk about this, I want to welcome our next panel. So please welcome our first speakers, Teresa Alvarez, CEO at ITEA Idiomas. Big applause for Teresa, please. To join her, we have Estelle Goddard, deep tech space investor at Promus Ventures. Big applause to Estelle. Thank you for joining. And last but not least, Luca Del Monte, Head of Commercialization Department at the European Space Agency. Luca, thank you. And to join and moderate the panel, big applause to Luis Martin, co-founder at Arribes.
So thank you very much. Can you hear us? Now? Okay, yeah, see. So first, thank you for all of you to be here, and also thank you for South Summit to make it possible. You know, this Space Tech Vertical that they had not only the vision to do it, but also like everything in investment, they took the risk and they execute, I think, in a very brilliant way, you know. So, you know, space is there. The macroeconomics says that in year 2014, this is going to be about $1 trillion business, so it's going to be a huge business. Was something like 350 billion year 2020. It's going to be something about 700 billion year 2030. And there's a lot of, as the previous panel mentioned, there's a lot of big challenges to accomplish. And the most important, whole new way to operate, you know. We are going for large constellations, mostly every single service that we can imagine and we can have in our pocket or in our business will be influenced by space. And we have, I would say, largely exceptional support from governments and institutions. But from now on, this is not enough, you know, and I think this is it. We need a lot of investors, a lot of new companies to join and to make the things together. So we have here three representatives of very different worlds, you know. We have Luca from ESA. I think ESA has been one of the biggest worldwide enablers to make space possible. Estelle is coming from one of the leading fund in Europe. So they're doing that. I think they're a great example. And we have Teresa, which is a pioneer, someone that took the risk 10 years ago, not 2 years ago, 10 years ago, with some of the best companies that we have today in Europe. So the aim of this goal is you know, encourage all of the normal ecosystem, that normal investors, normal entrepreneurs to join this world. You know? So I would like to start from Luca. The ESA has been making lots of things over the years, but now you're doing new things like the department and the whole division and the projects that you are running. And for most of us and for most of the audience, this is quite new. You know, it's not only promoting missions, but it's really promoting an ecosystem. So, Luca, I would like you to describe what are you doing now from ESA?
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Well, as you say, it's new, my department. It's not only new. I am not only the head of this department, I am the first head of this department. So this department, the idea of accompanying the entrepreneur's life along the entire life cycle of the existence of a company was not there. Actually, for many years, for 60 years, ESA has been focusing on developing research and technology, research and development of systems for product and services, bringing them from TRL1 up to TRL9, having a product or a service ready on the market. Now, with this new department, we are trying to complement this type of activities by adding a range of services to boost let's say, the development of the entire ecosystem, in particular, opening up to the new space community. So in this case, we are deploying a range of services in support of all the stakeholders, meaning the startups, the new entrants, but also the investor community. You mentioned some very interesting figures. This is the global dimension of the space economy. But what is interesting is also the figures corresponding to private investors. So worldwide, I think 2 years ago, we peaked the volume of 13 billions per year, which is a remarkable investment. Let's say it's twice the size of the budget of ESA per year. And this arrived just in 6 years, so an exponential growth. So in Europe, we are starting from a very, very small dimension, unfortunately. It's not comparable. Let's say the investment volume, private investment volume, a few years ago was really minimal. But thanks to these services that we are now putting in place in support of the investor community, so really helping them, now we are seeing some outstanding results, I must say. And last year, due to the geostrategic crisis ongoing worldwide, this private investment has begun to decrease a little bit, and we understand. I mean, it's a difficult moment. But in Europe, I would say also thanks to our colleagues, but also obviously to institutions, we have witnessed that plus 66% of private investment. So I think that the private investors ecosystem in Europe is starting to understand. I also have a sneak peek of the figures for the first quarter this year. This trend is continuing. It's continuing in a moment where, in general terms, the space is considered to be one of the 3 strongest sectors worldwide in which to invest in this very difficult time of crisis. So I think this is where the action of ESA is present. We have set up a partnership with the major investment fund. Of course, Promos was one of the first to join, and we assist them by providing, let's say, access to our deal flows, so to our community of startups. We have some more than 1,500 companies incubated in our business incubation centers. We provide technical assistance and view also of the market opportunities. So let's say we are really deploying a lot of efforts and energy there.
I think it's amazing. And in some of the conversations we had before, I think you say something was very remarkable. You say, we don't invest, we don't take share. And I think it's very important for investors, you know.
Exactly.
You enable a lot of investments because you dilute the risk and you do things where investor could have a much safer environment to invest.
We are zero equity. Zero equity. We leave the equity business to the private investors, of course. So in our case, we provide grants to our business incubated company. But we are deploying not just grant. I mean, grant is seeds money. What is important for a company incubated in our system is the quality stamps that comes from having been selected by the agency. So this is the most important thing, the thing that attracts more also investors. And the second more important thing is to have real customers, a real business, not just governmental type of supports or grants, but real customer. And this is a completely different activity because so far institutions have been really focusing on the research and development part, but not really engaged in the market. So now we have understood that, especially in this moment, we have to act also on the market, so also beyond TRL 9. And this is where we have set up a marketplace where we help and support our companies to explore emerging new markets and attracting and capturing largest share of the markets with the goal, with the aim of showcasing these results to the private investor community and to show to them who are the companies that have the best opportunity to scale up and grow on the market. We don't just want to have small companies, we want to have champions that are capable to compete. I mean, our companies cannot, in Europe, that's the peculiarity, they do not have a vast, solid and strong institutional captive markets. They have to be strong because they have to fight on the global commercial markets. This is why we have to help them a little bit.
Thank you very much. I think it's an amazing program, and sometimes we are claiming large let's say, traditional institutions to change. And I think it's amazing how ESA has changed over the last months, I would say over the last years. Estelle, you work for a fund that, if it is not the leader in Europe, is one of the top leaders, you know. So, but you are not new. You did not were born yesterday. You are coming for a fund that I guess is 10, 12 years old, right now. I think since the beginning you were working in deep tech, and how, because you know, for the rest of the funds, how is this? How did you do in the past, and how is this transition to a space that that you did, and how would you say to the rest of the funds to come to this sector that because we need everyone here. Eh?
Yeah, so as you said, I mean, Promus has been around for about 11 years now. We started out in the US, so it's a fund that spun out of a large family business that's made up of high net worth individuals, and that basically wanted to invest more into deep tech companies and set up and take more risks into investments. So they set up the Promus Ventures venture capital firm in Chicago, so 11 years ago, and started to invest in deep tech, mostly into robotic companies and companies that have and still have a large link with space sector, and started with some investments also in the space sector with large companies such as Rocket Lab, ICEYE, but also Spire. I mean, ICEYE, just to mention some of the rationale behind it. The company was not yet fully established. We came into the Series A, and we did this investment as part of the, I mean, it was one of the first company to actually provide SAR imagery, so imagery that could detect objects and detect the atmosphere, even with the clouds. So it could, it was one of the first company to do that, and was the leader on the market. It was not yet fully established, but it had already developed some satellites and launched into orbit, so it had demonstrated the technology in a way. But it was still a major risk, and the market was still emerging. So that's part of a mentality that was framed around deep tech, and this idea that we invest into really disruptive companies that leverage new infrastructure through highly established industries with data analytics and the power of analytics with AI and new advances into technologies. So that was the frame around the first funds of Promus Ventures, which were really deep tech focused funds based in the US, but had an incentive to invest into this new sector, a new domain, that was emerging and that was leveraging really new technologies and disruptive ways to do analytics in the sector and benefit also other sector and other domains. So that was kind of the setup. And then 2.5 years ago, we were approached by Europe to set up a fund in Europe that's based out of Luxembourg, still through Promus Ventures, but it's called Orbital Ventures, and which is a 180 million fund that invests only into space companies, and with which we've made already approximately 12 investments to date. Some of the most investments that we made are exploration company, Ellipsis Drive, for instance. We also did some robotics, such as companies such as Robco, and all of these companies, they leverage space technologies in a way, and are able to expand to other markets and really unlock new potentials. So I think that's the main idea to understand also, is that space is not only about rockets and launching satellites. This is the upstream, which is of course very capital intensive, takes more time to go to market and provide returns on investments, but that can still unlock new business models. And on the other side, you still have downstream investments that leverage data analytics and that are still a huge part of the market. And where companies and investors, and we see it a lot, they would start generally with investing into downstream companies that are maybe more accessible because they are software driven, they use business models that are more comparable to other domains that they are used to, especially in the tech sector, and that are more accessible. So that's kind of the big picture. But overall, I mean, I think that there's still a lot to be done in the space sector. And right now, other investors and generalist funds are starting to understand it and leverage, I mean, specialist funds such as ours to help them and co-invest with them.
Just to share with the audience, you know, because you are one of the early investors of ICEYE, you know, and how different is the dimensions, you know. I think ICEYE, as a private company, has the largest investment in Europe, I guess, more or less, which is about 200 million, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a typical round, I would say, among A and B in a marketplace. So dimensions are really big, but as you mentioned, the market is huge for the rest of it, and you need to think a bit different and to take risk in another way, right?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, ICEYE was one of the first to develop the SAR technology, and it was a big disruption
what is SAR?
at the time. Sorry?
What is SAR?
It's just a way that you are able to detect in the atmosphere through the clouds using infrared and microwave sensors. So you are able to unlock new possibilities to really detect atmospheric variables that are necessary to understand some of the climate change variables in the world. So
a game changer at the end.
yeah, and it was at the time one of the first company to do that, and the leading one. Now there's a couple more that are entering the market. I can mention Capella Space, for instance. But ICEYE is still the leader in this domain and still developing new manufacturing of satellites that it is able to sell to other satellite operators right now, and providing huge return on investments, obviously.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Teresa. So you are last but not least. You, like in the space, you are a true pioneer. You know, when nobody was investing from, let's say, very private equity, let's say, on money. You did it 10 years ago. You invested in the PLD, this launcher, and you know, now that everything's become more easy, let's say, or more normal, and you have programs like ESA and big funds to follow up, like Promos. Why did you do that? You know, how was the process to get there? Because you were not coming from that world. It's just some kind knock your door, and how did you get there? You know.
Well, as you mentioned, first, good morning, everyone. So, and thank you for inviting me. It was already 10 years ago where I would say I didn't know anything around space, so other than the rocket used to explode. You know, that's my, let's say, feeling. So when someone came to me and let me know, why don't you invest in here? You know, I say, well, I don't know a word about that. And I made my, let's say, technical due diligence, and I said, this is a very capital-intensive initiative, which we will speak later on maybe, but it's not only, this is not all the, let's say, space initiatives are like the launchers one, so, but this specifically was very capital-intensive. It was a long-term return capital, and I said, well, even if it is very profitable, because the reality is that it's a business which is very profitable. Once you get the stable operations, doesn't make any sense for me, you know, because I was a very small investor and so on. So, and when I say, well, no, that I would not do so, they told me, no, don't tell not. Just came where the founders were based, listen to them and see. And say, well, okay, I take the time. I take the train because they were based in Elche, which for the Spanish persons is where well, they know where it is, but you know, it's 100 kilometers from Madrid, so on. And I spoke with them, and they really convinced me, you know. Well, first, as young guys, they were very energized, very convinced, which, by the way, is an attribute of nearly every founder. But, you know, I realized how strategic is the initiative for the country, you know. Providing Spain the ability to, let's say, reach the space is something which really will make a difference. I realized how many, let's say, talented people will be needed to execute the operations in itself and execute the program. So I said, would be a good initiative to retain and attract talent which is working outside. We were based initially in Elche, and now we have operations in Teruel, and we are about to launch in Huelva, which are cities which is not very, it's not a centralized, let's say, way of doing business in this country. So I said it do have many, many components that tell my heart that's maybe something that I will need to invest, not because of the financial return, but because, you know, how important this could be for our country and our people and so on. And so I say, well, let's try, let's do it. And, you know, I'm here 10 years later. we are here.
And if you have to redo the math now, will the Excel looks different in terms of risk and in terms realizing that the market is different?
Well,
will it be easier for you to take the decision today?
Well, I would say today I will perceive the risk very different. That's one thing. So, you know, and the reason is that now I understand a little bit better which is the industry about, which at that time I didn't know nothing about. And from the maths, as you said, I think that there is a lot of things that, you know, you start to see close to what I've saw in the past, you know. So I see really we are about to launch. I see that we will have clients. I see that, you know, we will be able to compete even with incumbents, even with the Americans. So, you know, I think that the maths will be, let's say, has a better, let's say, look like.
Okay. So now, Luca, back to you. You have an amazing program. As if you make a little bit of research about what was ISA doing in the past and what you're doing now, you have a lot of programs in place and a lot of tools. 2 questions in a row for you. What would you demand from the private sector, you know, to leverage on this big opportunity, on the big tools? And second, what is your next launch, you know, from your department or your initiative perspective?
Interesting question. Thanks a lot. Well, listening now to the previous speakers, I think that what is important, there are 3 ingredients that are essential. We need the talents, that's for sure. We need the capital. And, well, we need the speed, because, let's say, this is something that, you know, it's not typical of institutions. I mean, when you manage taxpayers' money, you have a huge responsibility. The sector is really risk adverse. So you don't want to introduce innovation for the sake of innovation or just to go faster. You want simply to minimize the risk. You don't want to see rocket exploding, especially when they are funded with taxpayers' money. And you want to maximize the performance. Now, these are 2 things that have nothing to do with the commercial sector, where the parameters are the time to market, the customer satisfaction, the return on the investment. So speed is of essence. So talent, capital, and speed. At the same time, if you ask me what to expect now from the investor community, is patience. It's not speed, it's patience. Because we have been working a lot on the so-called early stage type of investors. I mean, venture capital community, seeds, okay, a lot still to be done, it's clear, but we see some good trends. It's on the right track. Still has to go, but it is on the right track. What we are missing now, for time being, are good exit. So, I mean, what is the exit of my colleagues? It's to sell the company at profit to somebody else. It can be an IPO on the public market, it can be a private equity, it can be a late stage, a growth stage type of investment. There is where we need to put more energy. In this moment, this type of investors, which are patient investors, they have not the same, let's say, time framework of venture capitals, which is between 10 and 12 years, more or less. So they have to go fast and get an exit. These others are more patient type of investors. However, they are patient, they are not looking for big figures of growth, not necessarily, but stable, and they are not at all familiar with space. For them, space is still associated with big risk of failure. So it is where we are now investing more energy in educating this community, that's one thing, but also in integrating space more and more in the business verticals, in the industrial verticals, which are more traditional and well known by these late stage growth investors. Because in this way, let's say automotive, energy, pharmaceutical, when space is part of it, for them it's a no-brainer. Let's say it's a question of merger and acquisition. So this is where we want to go more and more. So this is what we are, we expect to do more with, let's say, the private investor community. And let's also not neglect another thing, that is the access to finance in general is not just investment, is also debt, is also loans, credit. This is super difficult for small companies, entrants, to go to a bank and ask for a loan when you are in the space market. So this is where we are working. It's one of the next big thing that we are launching together with the European Investment Bank to set up guarantee platform for the retails bank in order that they can be reassured and issue loan, let's say, at more favorable conditions.
And still the same question for you, but just from the other side of the mirror. You have Luca here, you have Miguel from the Spanish Space Agency. From the private sector investment, what do you expect from them to go bigger? I wouldn't say faster, as Luca mentioned, but bigger in the next years.
Yeah, I mean, I think Luca touched on some very interesting points, actually, and for us it's a bit the same rationale in the way that we were able to leverage the VC community, and we start to see more VCs in Europe getting interested and acquainted with the space sector. We co-invest together. I mean, we really see that it's a community in space in particular where investors but also companies really work together. There's a really good environment, and I think everyone helps each other, and it's really nice to see this. But now the real challenge is also to get more interest from really late stage investors, and for us as investors, as VC fund, it's also getting interest from LPs and from investors that are going to invest in our fund and that are going to understand our development cycles and our return on investments, and the way that sectors such as space and deep tech in general work, which is a bit longer than tech, HR SaaS, or other businesses in the tech sector that are very fast and that are easy to understand. But try to really get this community more acquainted, more aware, and more interested also into investing in funds that are investing in space.
Okay, and finally, Teresa, you're closing the session. As a true pioneer, we have a lot of people watching and streaming, and you have the selling pitch, you know, for the investor community, for the industry community, in a fraction. This change of mind that you did is what normal investors need to do, and you are the example that things could go well. So the audience is yours.
Well, what I would say is, I think, you know, I've heard a lot of things, all good ideas, let's say, but I will say more of these ideas need to happen quickly that, you know, it's happening today. We are in Europe, we are in Spain, we are competing with the Americans, we are competing, you know, with the others that are really passing through. So I think all the good plans, I hear Miguel is excellent, but they say, we are doing now the plan. And say, what, the plan? But it needs to be done already, So I think speed for us, I think for the small investors are important, and for the companies and the startups, And the other thing is, I encourage the potential private investors to know better the space industry, because as mentioned, it's not as risky, as said. There is more than launch vehicles, which are the capital intensive ones, but there's many other type of initiative in which you can invest, like, infrastructure, telecommunication, data, software, blah, blah, blah. So diversify your investments, take the challenge, take the risk, and invest in the space.
Okay. So thank you very much, and all of you are welcome to invest in the space.
Okay. So we're gonna get ready for the startup competition. So we have some time. Those of you there, we can switch back and forth. I think all of you are gonna be a little bit, it's gonna get crowded. You have no idea how much happiness it produces me to see this stage crowded. It's really cool. Okay, wow. That's a lot of people, you guys. Okay. So, where do we have our judges? Martin is getting ready, the judges. The space, I think you can crowd a little bit there if you guys want to go there. No, you're going to stay there? Coming? You can keep coming. I'm just making time until all of you can actually get on. And meanwhile, I'll tell you another story. So again, some years ago, I don't know how many people here know what the Center for Astrobiology here in Madrid is? Anyone? Some, raise your hands. Who knows the CAB? Centro de Astrobiología? No? Okay, interesting. Well, on the outskirts of Madrid, we have one of the most advanced astrobiology labs in the world. And I got the chance to visit some years ago, and they took me around, and we got to this very, very large room. And the guy showing us around, he said, well, this room is where NASA tested the Mars Polar Lander. So they needed to test the atmosphere and how it would go through replicating the conditions of the Mars surface, and this is where they tested it. And if you don't know that, they also tested it down south in Spain, in Las Minas de Rio Tinto, to test the same conditions that they had in Mars. So there you go. We do a lot of cool things here in Spain. Okay, do we have our judges? Yeah, where are my judges? There. Still missing some judges, I believe. There you go. My judges are coming there. So you want me to keep telling stories? I have more stories of space. So who here knows Pedro Duque, by the way? Raise your hand if you know Pedro Duque. Oh, a bunch of you guys. That's very cool. I'll tell you the story later then. Okay, judges, we're ready for rock and roll? Okay, so let me give you a brief introduction on the pitching competition. Very similar to the structure that we have on the pitching. So 3 minutes startups. Jon, 3 minutes sharp. I'll push startups out of the stage if you go over time. We're gonna have judges, we're gonna have 2 minutes for questions, okay? So normally it fits between 1 and 1.5 questions, depending how much they talk afterwards. And the startups are gonna be judged based on innovation, scalability, team viability, and investability. And with that, I have here my judges. So I'm gonna ask for the help of the audience to give a big round of applause to each of our judges. So let's start with usual, and I've heard very good things. Please, big applause to Teresa Alvarez from ITEA. Big applause for our judge. Raúl Verdú from PLD Space. Big applause, please. Estelle Godard, Promus Ventures. Applause. Immaculada Serrano, I don't think we have her yet. No, she's not here. Miguel, that was here. That's not here. He wasn't here. Luis Martín and Noelia Sánchez. Big applause for Noelia. And last but not least, Alessandro Gambarotta from Adara Ventures. Big applause, Alessandro. Thank you, judges, for joining. And with this, let's see. Judges, are we ready? Audience, are we ready? Well, I don't hear you. Audience, are we ready? I think we can do better. Audience, are we ready? There we go. Startups, are we ready? Okay, so all the way from Switzerland, building digital twins of snow and water, not just with geospatial information, but fusing all kinds of information to make them the richest models possible. Please welcome our one and only Ion Padilla, CEO of WeGo. Big applause for Ion.
We have a little bit of problems. There we go. So hello everybody, my name is Ion Padilla. I'm the CEO of WeGo. And what we do at WeGo is that we fuse geospatial data with machine learning to monitor natural resources. So you see, in the energy transition that we're facing right now, there is a big challenge, which is extremely difficult to forecast future renewable energy. And that's why, because it's very difficult to know and monitor natural resources, and even more difficult to predict how they are going to become in the future. It's very difficult to know how much water, wind, or sun we have, and how much energy we can produce with it. So in WeGo, we build geospatial data fusion capabilities using machine learning that compiles satellite data, drone data, LiDAR station data, in-situ measurements. We fuse them together with machine learning, and we build natural resource digital twins. This product has been financed by international organizations like the European Space Agency and the Swiss government, and we started monitoring things like snow, water inflow, glacier melt for hydro management and hydropower. We started the first contract last year for solar, monitoring things like clouds, shadows, solar radiation, and water. And we're now moving into trading for commodity trading, doing water inflow forecast and power forecast, all using geospatial data fusion. This is an example of a digital twin of snow. This is all the snow that is in Switzerland that we're monitoring through space. We can actually know how many years of snow there is, the density of the snow. We can monitor it real near time, and we can forecast it and how much water we'll have in the future. We have used it. 9 electric utilities in Switzerland piloted, and we demonstrated that 1.5 additional income can create it thanks to this data, and we can reduce financial risk when trading all this energy. We're currently producing data for 41 power plants worldwide in 6 countries, serving 20 clients in Spain, Switzerland, New Zealand, Canada, and Italy. This is the team, the dream team. It's a multinational, multidisciplinary team joining by geospatial engineers, telecommunication engineers, environmental scientists, hydrologists, machine learning engineers from top academic organizations like UCL, EPFL, Imperial College, and top companies like the UN, Hewlett-Packard, and CERN. We're glad to have an amazing ecosystem of clients with big organizations and big utilities all around the world. We have an excellent group of companies that we have partnered with in order to distribute our data in energy and water inflow and water management systems. We're VC-backed. We have raised 2.3 million from Sabadell, Catapult, Climate, and the Technology Fund. And I'm glad to say that we just raised another 2.4 million of non-dilutive funds with credits and a grant from the Swiss government. So if you're interested in using natural resource digital twins to improve your trading capabilities for hydropower, water inflow, or if you're interested in using these digital twins to improve your operations, or if you want to invest, here I am, pick me, I'm around in South Summit. Thank you so much.
Great. Okay, so judges, do we have any questions for Ion? There. Time for 2.
Are you using mostly public data, also private data to feed into the model, the software?
It's a combination of open data that is coming from European Space Agency and NASA satellites, but we have exclusive data from our partnerships. So we have up to 100 drone flights that we have done around the world. We have exclusive access to station data in the Alps, in the Pyrenees, in Scandinavia, and in Canada. And then we have exclusive access to our client data as well that we feed the machine learning model with.
Thank you.
Okay. We had one there. Yeah.
What are some typical clients you're speaking with actually, and do you have many customers in the pipeline already?
Yeah, so we have lots of clients. Currently, we have around 10 proposals that are being discussed, and we're talking to around 20 clients worldwide, primarily in Scandinavia, Canada, and in the Alps region, so Austria, Germany, Switzerland, and Italy.
And just as a quick follow-up, in which field each time? Like, are you focusing on a particular sector to start with?
It's primarily public sector, so governments, then energy utilities, so hydropower utilities primarily, and then trading, power trading, either power traders because trading firms or energy distribution companies that they want to purchase data more effectively, energy more effectively.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're done with that. So please give Jan a very large applause.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being there, coming here. Pleasure seeing you again. As I say, they're buying futures in there on energy. Okay, so let's introduce our next startup. We talk a lot about, we've been hearing here at South Summit a lot about IoT and deploying IoT all across the place. Industry, yesterday I was having fun because we started with Industry 4.0. This year we have Industry 5.0. It's like, we keep adding numbers. But that means deploying a lot of sensors all over the place. Now, if you live in a city, that's fine. If you live in the middle of nowhere, it becomes extremely hard to then connect to these devices, to get them the data and transmitting the data that you need. Well, to fix that, we have our next company that they provide global, cost-effective IoT connectivity through space. So please welcome our next startup. Big applause to Julian Fernandez, CEO at Fossa Systems.
Great, thank you so much, everybody. My name is Julian Fernandez. I'm the CEO at Fossa Systems, and we're reinventing the way to connect devices worldwide through space. Currently, over 80% of the world doesn't have any type of connectivity. Outside of urban areas like Madrid, there's a huge lack of connectivity where we don't have 3G, 4G, or new technologies like 5G, and there's hundreds of millions of IoT devices being deployed worldwide, especially in industrial applications. Current satellite solutions are very inefficient for IoT or inaccessible. When we look at Starlink, for example, which is a broadband solution, it's simply not optimized for IoT. You wouldn't put a Starlink dish on a cow. So Fossa is deploying a worldwide network of pico satellites and nano satellites. In fact, this is one right here. This is real size. We currently have 13 of these in space, slightly larger than these, orbiting the world as cell phone towers in space, which provide direct satellite-to-device IoT connectivity for industrial applications. For example, a container ship in the middle of the ocean, which requires connectivity to get critical data from the shipment of vaccines in the middle of the ocean. So our market is basically corporate applications in industrial applications. We're looking about oil and gas, utilities, infrastructure, logistics. We have customers in applications such as pipeline monetization, where in the middle of nowhere, they basically need to get data from these pipelines. So our business model is providing a SaaS connectivity to existing devices which are deployed. We charge a pay-per-use connectivity service, and we have a whole range of partners which develop the end sensors for our customers. We provide the connectivity using these satellites which we manufacture, put in orbit into space. So many of our customers worldwide include Microsoft, Atos, Exolum. These are usually large corporates. We've had over $1 million in revenue so far over our 2.5 years of operation. We're a team of over 20 engineers based out of Madrid in Spain, highly qualified, over 40% of women in this engineering domain, and over 5 nationalities. So why FOSSA? We're an easy-to-use technology. We're interoperable. All satellite technologies up until now have been proprietary. We're using LoRaWAN and LoRa, which is an open source and open system, including our satellite technology. We're low power. We're end-to-end secure. And we're trying to totally democratize access to space and IoT connectivity worldwide. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please get in touch at this email. Thanks.
I must confess something, and this is recorded though, but you guys are keeping to the time better than my startups yesterday on stage. I'll just say that. Anyway, questions, judges, please. Question for Fossa? There you go.
Could you please let us know which is your focus market geographically side, or are you thinking globally right now?
So geographically, since we're in LEO, we cover the whole world, and we have landing rights for the whole world because we use ISM frequencies, which is also very different to how other satellite companies are operating. We don't segment by geography, but we segment by latency. With 13 satellites, we provide coverage more or less every 10 hours. So that means that our current customers are usually in linear infrastructure. We're talking water distribution, electricity distribution, oil and gas distribution. As we move towards 80 satellites, we'll go to direct-to-satellite, low latency applications like logistics, container ships, last mile delivery. So it's more latency than geography. Right now, we have customers worldwide.
Thank you.
So, congratulations, first of all. Just a few words about competition. So which are your competitors and other solutions? So.
Yeah, so right now we have competitors in the broadband area and in the more legacy area. We're talking Iridium, Orbcomm. These are older players which use proprietary technology, and this also spills into newcom players. We're talking Sateliot, Swarm. Usually these use proprietary technology. Some of them are working towards 5G, and there our advantage is CapEx. With these small satellites, we're able to deploy constellation with a much smaller investment, and that cost trickles down to our customers. So it's the best of both worlds.
Okay, very good. Big applause, please. Thank you very much, Julian. And now, she's going to kill me, but she's like, we're flying to the US, but Carmen is from Texas, close to Cuenca. So I'm going to be talking about maybe one of the hardest issues that we have especially in Earth observation, which is we now have a lot of hardware in space, a lot of images, terabytes of images that are streaming down to the surface. However, there's still a big barrier between business uses of this imagery and the actual imagery. Well, our next company precisely focuses and specializes in translating where all these images are, what do they provide, into business cases that can be directly and actionably used in businesses. So please welcome our next startup, Ángela del Carmen, co-founder and CEO of Imagerist. Big applause.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for your time. I'm Ángela del Carmen. I'm CEO and co-founder of Imagerist. Companies need data to make decisions. That's a fact. This data needs to be reliable, global, and repeated in time. And the satellite imagery seems to be the perfect solution for them. But what is happening? They are really difficult to process. You need an experienced team, and you need to manage big data sets. That's why we created Imagerist. Imagerist is a platform that automatically extracts geolocated data from satellite images for non-technical users. How does it work? Our user select the asset that they want to analyze, let's say a building, a road, a swimming pool, or a parcel, and then the information that they want to extract for it. For example, the humidity, the radiation, the height of the building, whatever. And then they apply filters like the time and the geographic information that they want to extract. And we send all the information through an API. In this way, we have a no-code platform for people that they know what data they want to extract, but they don't know how to do it. Just to simplify it, we have as an input imagery data, like for example, LiDAR, drone or satellite data, and then our client, they can upload their own data. And then we apply pre-processing, processing, and then machine learning with our own algorithms to start all the data. In this case, our users can extract it from the API or directly to the platform. This technology can be used for multiple use cases, from urban planning to vegetation monitoring, through for example, energy transition. But right now we are focusing in a specific industry, which is the solar industry. We are helping solar companies to accelerate their sales and also to accelerate the installation purposes. We are giving information about the topography of the building, like for example, the height, the altitude, the slope, the aspect, and also the water seats, and also the radiation of the building. In this case, they are saving a lot of time and money extracting all this data. Even though last year we were working in the idea, market validation, and also validating the technology in different industries and use cases, we was born in January 2023. We already have 4 clients. We have closed one strategic partnership, and then we are operating in 6 countries. We have sold more than 100K in these 5 months. We are 2 founders with more than 20 years of experience in the geolocation and location intelligence industry, in my case in the business side, and then my co-founder in the GIS as a GIS expert. We have 2 more people in the team, and we are ready to squeeze all the value of the data. But basically, the satellite industry is moving more than ever, and we are ready to extract the value for the business people. Thank you so much for your time.
Very good. That was very, very
And I'm from Seville.
You nailed it. Okay, judges, questions, please. Questions for Carmen. Yep.
Sorry. At the moment, are you selling mostly in Spain, or what are the geographies that you're covering?
We are operating in 6 countries. The clients that we have are like our main target persona is in Portugal and Brazil right now, but we are also selling from Spain. We have, for example, Iberdrola in Brazil, but our main contact is directly in Brazil. But we are operating in Italy, Poland, UK, Czech Republic, and Singapore. Thank you.
I have another one there.
Thank you for the pitch. Obviously, I mean, we understand that the potential of space data is huge. We see a number of companies that are trying to leverage it. So my question is more related to your technology, and if you develop the software proprietary and filed any patents on the software that you've developed.
Basically, we have the technology is already there. I mean, you've been developing it for years. Basically, what we are doing is simplifying this technology for users that are not technical and they don't have any technical knowledge about the satellite and the indicators that they need to apply. But it's our own algorithms.
Sure. And have you filed any patents to
No.
No.
Yeah, very quick.
Regarding the data you use, you provide the data to the final user. Is it public data? Are you buying that data to any other provider?
Basically, we are transforming images into data. The images that we are using are, right now, the use cases that we have are covered by free images. We are using Copernicus, we are using LiDAR data, but in the case that, for example, the client needs a specific resolution or a specific area that we don't have in free images, we can buy it.
Okay, so please give Angela a very big applause. Thank you very much. She was telling me that she was very nervous, but we have very nice people here, right? We're nice people? See, right? No problem. Anyway, we're flying back to Spain, and we're going to be talking about a field that's really interesting. I think nearly everyone, at least here, I'm pretty sure they know that every kilogram that we put into space matters, right? And it's really expensive. The more kilos, the more expensive. And one of those parts of any satellite that takes a lot of weight and space is fuel. And fuel, you need it for many things. So there's a lot of development in this field on how can we do propulsion systems that don't require fuel, so that we don't have to lift it up there. So today we're going to meet one of those companies that are incredible pioneers in one of the different types of electric propulsion systems. So please welcome our next speaker and startup, Adrián Senar, CEO at Creo Space.
Okay, I'm here to present the future of space. I'm Adrian, CEO of Creo Space. Satellites currently in orbit are placed at 500 kilometers. By lowering them to 200 kilometers, we could cut down the cost to a half and increase up to 16 times the resolution for Earth observation images and telecommunication data transmission. Unfortunately, this is currently impossible to do, since below 500 kilometers, there are still remaining traces of air from the atmosphere, which makes the satellites fall much faster. At 500 kilometers, they last up to 10 years in orbit. At 200, less than a week, implying a huge cost for the satellite operating companies. That's exactly where Creios Space comes in, proposing the first all-electric propulsion system for satellites, which only uses air and solar energy. This technology will allow the satellites to establish at 200 kilometers thanks to removing the need for fuel, implying a huge new market for the satellite industry. This technology has been already validated in laboratory. Well, okay. And this technology, the feasibility of this technology has been already validated in the most recognized private space lab in Europe at the University of Stuttgart. And we already have 200 million euros in future revenue as LOIs and MOUs from space companies, which demonstrates the need of the market to use this solution. We are going to the market by 2026, and to do so, we are currently raising a $500,000 private equity round, which will be complemented with another €500,000 of non-dilutive public funding. And we are also raising a €2 million round by the end of 2024. We are Creios Space, and we are here to get the space a step closer. Thank you very much.
You were telling me, I just prepared for 2. Okay, judges, questions, please. Anyone? Questions over there.
Thank you, and congratulations for what you've achieved so far.
Thank you.
Just a quick question regarding the current customers that you've secured. What's the segmentation, would you say, of these customers with regards to startups, like new constellations that are upcoming versus established players that have already their secured funding to launch their satellites into orbit?
Okay, most of the LOIs come from startups, but the MOU comes from Elecnor-Deimos, one of the biggest space companies in Spain, and in fact now we are negotiating 2 LOIs as well, one with Thales Alenia and another with Telespazio.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask you about the timing? When will the solution be ready for deployment?
By 2026.
Do you have any other questions? This side of the judges? All good? Yeah? Well, big applause to Adrian. Thank you very much, Adrian. Okay, and now I think he has the remote, people. Team, get the remote. Okay, so now we're flying all the way to Italy. And I just had my dear friend Andrea yesterday on stage also. So this is really interesting. I was talking with someone about, you know, we are increasingly accumulating population in cities, right? And the cities are becoming megacities. And the growth in the cities is going very, very fast. At the same time, climate change and things like that are also going very, very fast. Now, it's getting very, very critical that we turn our cities into resilient cities. However, most of them just don't do any planning at all. Well, to change that, with the use of geospatial information and AI algorithms to support sustainability and the resilience of the city of the future, we have our next startup. So please welcome, give a big applause to Andrea Montieri, International Business Development at Latitudo 40.
So we know very well that cities are at risk because of climate change, and 93% of the cities are at risk. So many of them, especially in Europe, are adopting plans in order to mitigate the risk. But their problem is that very often they lack the data that they need to actually create a plan. And not only, they have also another problem. Also, if they have the data, they don't have the expertise or specialization to actually understand what they're saying. That's why Latitudo 40 is here, because we created a solution for them. We take data from space, maps, and data, we transform them through our algorithms and machine learning and artificial intelligence, and we transform this data in geospatial analysis that can be observed by our client in a very easy manner through our platform. So we take this data, we transform them, and then our clients can see the KPIs and the maps visualized in layers that are absolutely useful and important for their urban planning. So our clients are cities, infrastructures company, and all people that need data to act on how they build in their cities and in their territories. You can see our layers here. We can analyze a lot of different data. For example, you can see the cooling in the cities, the carbon storage, the tree coverage, the albedo, the temperature of the ground, and we are developing more and more layers because obviously from satellite data we can extract a lot. So the market, obviously, you can understand that is huge because imagine how many cities can use our solution. And the important thing about this is that our solution is very scalable and our product is very flexible. Because the cities that are going to acquire our product needs can be big or small, but thanks to our software and our super resolution that can transform the satellite images that we take from a resolution 10x10 to 1x1, you can imagine it can be how much is useful for also small cities that needs scalable data. So we're working with a lot of partners. So we're an established startup. We have many clients, important cities around the world. And our product is very flexible. We can sell both the access to the platform in a subscribe model, but also we can sell the singular data for clients that need a singular package of data. So our company is growing a lot. Our team is very valid. We are growing, and we have an aggressive plan of growing, and we are planning to double our revenue this year and also in the next years. Good, I'm done.
Very good.
Thank you. True.
You got a rematch. Okay, judges, questions, please. Over there. There, that's it.
Thank you very much for the pitch. I think it's super interesting, and indeed there's a lot of potentials with cities. What we see is that generally, I mean, the sales cycle with the cities is much longer. So how do you experience it currently? Like, what is your sales cycle with those cities, and how do you plan to evolve in the future?
I mean, as I said in the beginning, our product is very flexible. What the city asks, we can provide them. For example, they plan for a longer period of time. We can provide them not only the history of what happened in the past, because obviously we have satellite data in archive, okay? But thanks to the fact that our product is very scalable, if they need something small, we can provide them something small. For example, parking, okay? Or the singular trees on the roads, because as I said, we can scale that. But we can provide also services to cities that are planning in a long time, you know, or big projects. So we are very flexible from that point of view.
Okay, any other question? Here we go, this side.
Maybe a quick question. I would have expected
Wait, which one? Who wants to go first? Go.
I would have expected cities to have mostly a need for a one-off solution.
Can you?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I would have expected cities to have mostly a need for a one-off solution. Let's say they're planning a parking space, they need data, but then the next year they may not have the same need. So have you seen a recurring, let's say, need for a certain city for a solution like this, or have you seen this as a challenge?
I mean, obviously, it's a challenge, okay? But the point is that we have clients that are also very small, okay? So we have a lot of renovation of what our client can ask. For example, we have a contract with a small Italian city of 1,000 inhabitants, okay? So these years...
Andrea, short, please.
This year, they can ask for something, but a year later, if they don't need that, there is another city of similar size that can ask for that. So from that point of view...
Thank you.
Okay. We're out of time. Do you mind? Yuan, if it's short.
Okay.
Very short. Speak. They'll open
Okay.
the mic.
So is in this investment plan a budget specific for APIs, so you can integrate on legacy systems of the cities?
Exactly. To answer your question,
That's a yes.
Yes. That's a yes.
Big applause for Andrea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, my friend. And okay, we're flying back to Spain. I'm going to be talking for the next, our last two startups, we're going to be talking about drones. And in this case, we're talking about the only world drone that it's capable of doing small, I think it's 5 liters, they just told me, deliveries that you can A, buy now, B, it's profitable, and B and C is legal. So I'll let them explain that one. So please welcome our next startup on the stage, Cesar Serrano, COO at Linking Drones.
Do you realize that transportation of items often costs more than the item itself? But not only in money, also in time and environmental impact. At Linking Drones, we solve inefficient and inconvenient transportation by making drone delivery accessible and finally profitable. For that, we have designed and patented the first drone of its kind. We use space technology to make it fully automatic so that anyone can just click in a few clicks in his application, send it to the desired destination, where anyone can retrieve the package and press a button to make it return. As simple as it sounds. I'm going to introduce you to some of our real clients. They find endless applications for our drone. For instance, Marco transports tools, food, and medicines. Carlos brings exclusive items to his parties. And Pioneer's drone gives services in areas of difficult access. By the way, all these applications are legal according to European regulation. In fact, providing an easy-to-use tool instead of a service set us apart from any other competitors. And direct competitors such as Amazon Prime Air, they are trying to give services only, which is still too complex and expensive. That's why at Linking Drones, we believe that moment is now, and that the drone revolution starts with the people. That's why we're starting with direct sales first, and by 2025, when the industry is ready, we'll also go into the B2B market. There is a tremendous potential. Our market is a blue ocean. Actually, by 2026, we'll have reached break-even and will generate a revenue of 67 million. The team has over 70 years experience in aviation, including space, drones, software development, and business. We have grown into a team of 13 experts and top advisors, and we count on partners and collaborations such as the European Space Agency, and we rely on programs just as the LEO PNT and the IRIS². We have filed 2 patents, we have tested the market, and we have done all this by only bootstrapping. Now the moment has come to scale our MVP into a product that will generate viral sales. We're bringing you the opportunity to participate with an investment of 1.5 million. Thank you.
Very good, well done. It's a little thing. Okay, judges, do we have any questions? Aurelia, yes, please.
Thank you for the pitch. It was quite interesting. You mentioned that it's legal, and we heard a lot about the impossibility of driving a drone into a city. Is it possible to work on the cities right now with your solution, or are you thinking more on a market for rural areas and isolated spaces?
Yeah, the former. So myself, I was lead operator for Matnet UPS operations. I created the first drone airline in the world in Switzerland. And I know this topic very well. It's super hard. They're having troubles to scale. I mentioned Amazon, but the one I know really well is UPS Matnet. Super difficult to scale. What we do is that we as it is, which is very hard for all drones, as you mentioned, I fully agree. And we try to make, or we have done, an application that is legal today. Indeed, it's mainly useful for valleys, mountains, sea, lakes, on those applications that maybe the distance is not too long, but going by car or having to go there would be inefficient or inconvenient.
Thank you.
Okay, Alessandro?
Maybe you mentioned it, but how many units have you sold until now, or is it still not in production?
Yeah, correct. So for now, we have sold only a few units for, like giving feedback from clients. In a month, we're releasing a new website, and we're going to give 100 units to sell, so that we can create distraction, get more feedback, and then scale to the next product that we will sell worldwide.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, big applause, please, for Cesar. Pleasure having you. Thank you very much. And last but not least, we have our last startup of the Space Tech block. We're enjoying it. Are we enjoying it? I am enjoying it. See, we have fans here. We're enjoying it or not? You guys are standing there. We're enjoying it. So, all the way from Portugal, we are going from small cargo to all the way to 300 kilos cargo, same day delivery, and up to 1,000 kilometers range. And to talk about this incredible feat, please welcome our last speaker of the day, Alexander Shishov, CEO at Wasp Aircraft.
Hi, do you hear me? Okay, thank you. It is fact that 100 times more cargo is delivered by ground, but not by air. How come that people don't invent enough efficient way to fly with cargo? Actually, we can. It was Igor Sikorsky who introduced the world to helicopters, which take off and land vertically, but it is fast, but unfortunately very expensive. We have solution. It is tilt-rotor aircraft with steep jet-driven rotor, which take off as helicopter, and after transformation to airplane mode, fly 470 kilometers per hour. Actually now, thanks to this invention, is it possible same-day delivery for over 1,000 kilometers without any roads, thanks to combination of VTOL, payload, high speed, and flight range. And we propose a new paradigm of the cargo delivery service when we take 300 kilograms of payload to almost everywhere in one hop instead of hub-to-hub hopping by trucks. Global market for drone deliveries is growing 21% per annum, and we're expecting their heavy drones demand will be thousands. Our competitors are developing their aircrafts with similar payload, but they're using bulky hybrid propulsion system and cruise and lift and cruise configuration, which makes them much more expensive, and their delivery range less than 500 kilometers. So no drones with the similar parameters on the market so far. Our first customers will be postal or logistic companies. Actually, we have very professional team, and we're in the position to raise 1.2 million euros to complete our R&D and start certification. We are looking for the strategic partner who will benefit from our expertise, and we're planning their break-even after first year of start of sales. Thank you for your attention.
Very good. Thank you very much, Alexander. Questions, judges? You go, Raul.
Yes. Hello. Which is the maturity level of the development of your product?
Okay, we are testing their jet engine. It's pulse detonation jet engine. It's new generation. And we are testing their rotor, so propulsion system itself. So now we are developing aircraft but it's more or less standard. So because our major invention is propulsion system.
Okay. Yeah, you're talking with someone that pretty much knows a lot about propulsion systems. More questions, judges? Teresa? No? All good? Okay, big applause.
Thank you for your
Alexander.
attention.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that's that with our startup competition. Judges are putting on their votes. We will be announcing the award for Space Tech competition at 12:05. So if you want to know who's going to win, you can come back later. For now, we have 2 panels in between. So please do stay. You don't need to leave. They're going to be very cool. And we're going to be talking, our next panel is going to be talking about the global awakening of the private sector. So I'll let you some time to move in and out. Those of you that want to stay, I assure you it's going to be fun. Okay. People coming in, coming out. Okay, please take your seats. Oh, come on. You'll come back. See you guys. Okay, please, conversations off the stage. Those new people want to sit, plenty of space right now to sit. Grab your seat before it goes away. Seats are hot. It's a hot asset right now in this stage. There's not that many, so take your seat. Okay. Is everyone ready? People there at the sides, you don't want to sit? No? People that want to sit? Okay. Okay, I think we can kick-start this. Okay, so as I was saying, there's been a... People outside. So, as I was saying, there's been a massive awakening of the private space sector, what a lot of people in the space have dubbed Space 2.0, and makes me very, very happy to see all those... Wait, I have to keep... I can tell more stories if you want. No, but I'm actually quite interested, before we keep on getting people. Raul, I have a question to you, even though... Oh, he's not listening. Raul, I have a question to you, even though you're going to come on stage in a second, but when are we going to see the Miura roaring? Nobody, right? I keep checking Twitter. It's like, atmospheric conditions. It's like, yeah. Estimation window? Next? Could be maybe week, 2 weeks? Not earlier than next week. Okay. Good to know. Check the news there. First rocket that's launching from Spain. That's going to be insane. Anyway, so I think we're all rock and roll. So as I was saying, the whole Space 2.0, it's massive. And the amount of companies that are coming into the fray and developing new technology. And I was just talking with one of the startups, like the speed at which innovation is happening in the space tech space is really amazing. I haven't seen that in a long time. So it's really cool to be talking about how the private sector is awakening and joining the fray. So to talk about that, I want to welcome our next panel. So please welcome our first speaker, Raul Verdu, co-founder and Chief Business Developer Officer at PLD Space. Big applause to Raul, please. To join them, we have Maria Graña Varela, Innovation and Technology Director at Grupo OESIA. Thank you for joining, Maria. And to run the show and rock and roll,
Inmaculada.
Ah, you made it. Okay, then I nearly skipped you. Please welcome Inmaculada Serrano, CTO of New Space at Indra. Big applause for Inma, please. Thank you for joining. And to run the show, last but not least, Noelia Sanchez, from co-founder at Arribes. Big applause to the panel. Enjoy.
So here again, welcoming other 3 good friends of the space sector. The idea now is to talk about the role of space and how this space sector is awakening now. It has
always been there, but now we are seeing a lot of changes. It may be the case that there are some people in the audience that do not know the size of the market or the impact of the space industry. I think you already heard before what's that. I always like to mention one single figure, is that it is estimated that the economy here in the Earth, not in space, will diminish 6.4% if we cannot use space infrastructure or space data. Just for the sake of comparison, this 6.4 is double the impact of the COVID pandemic in the economy. So we are all dependent on space, and space has been there for a long time. Maria is coming from Intergrupo Oesia, and she and the group has been working on space for a long time. And I think their journey has been pretty much, or is an example of the journey we all in the space we have done. It's like we started with some defense applications, military applications. That was the origin of space activities. We have now private rockets, but the first rockets were indeed missiles. Maria, how this journey from defense up to a full, almost full private sector have you lived in Inster?
Yes, as you say, we were working in this field from 2008, and our first development was for a terminal, a satellite terminal, very special for our unit, our military unit for emergency, UME. So they wanted a terminal very specific for working in areas where not other infrastructure are available. For example, where they work in catastrophic areas, the earthquakes or fire forest. So they need some terminal, that could provide communication in mobility, even when no roads exist. So this terminal was designed for them. They was very special. This was a low-profile terminal, and they provide communication. Even the vehicle that was off-road vehicles that have to go in this type of areas. So it has to maintain the communication, and even has to provide this communication to other actors. So this was our first terminal, very special terminal, and then we saw that the characteristic of this terminal could be valid for other applications, for example, for trains. So our next development was for a train, for the low distance, medium distance trains that were to provide the backhaul in areas where, do you know that in Spain we don't have coverage in more of the areas. So we installed these terminals in trains. The trains really have been manufactured with our terminal. And from that, the transition from defense to commercial was very easy, because the necessities were very similar. And finally, this was a very niche market. This was a market only for this type of very small market. But right now, we are developing this type of terminals for the LEO constellation, that's the low Earth orbit constellation, that will provide communication with more coverage even, and it will be more cheaper. This means that we can democratize the market in this field. So.
Thanks, Maria. Maria, you have just focused on communication through satellites and all these capabilities, but communication on satellites is not only being able to talk about phone by satellite or TV by satellite. I think, Immaculada, you can tell us a bit more on one of the activities you are doing, which is based on communication through satellites for a particular application, which is really challenging.
Yeah, okay. So good morning, Noelia, and thank you for inviting me. Yeah, we are currently developing a private constellation, for satellites. In principle, it's a communication constellation, but the specificality is that what we intend to provide is a space infrastructure to allow ATM, air traffic management systems, to continue working overall in any place. Currently, when any of us take a plane, the pilot can talk with the control tower if you are flying ground areas of the world, but the reality is that we all of us know that 70% of the world is oceans. So the fact is that when we are flying over an ocean, we have no communication at all with the control tower. The plane is flying completely isolated in the specific route. So our concept is to replicate the infrastructure, which already it's on the ground, replicate that infrastructure on space, so the planes can talk directly with the control tower, but using networks which are in the space and not in the ground. This project has also very specificalities because we don't want to change anything in the plane. So that means that we have to replicate in space everything exactly as if you are communicating with an antenna in the ground. But the difference is that instead of being 12 kilometers below the plane, you are 100 kilometers above the plane. So there are some tricky issues. The idea of this project is not only of course, to put an additional point ensuring the safety of the systems, of the plane. So when there are some tragedies that the plane has been lost and no one knows where the plane is, that the problem is that that's a reality when you are flying in an ocean, you are completely isolated. With this system, you will always know where the planes are. But there are a second direct advantage of this system, which I think we cannot be dismissed, which is the fact that with these routes, you can save a lot of fuel and a lot of dioxide carbon emissions, because usually what airlines plan when planned flights is that they try to avoid as much as possible isolated areas. So the routes are not the direct one, but those routes that get better coverage. So in many cases, you are doing, for example, 2,000, 3,000 kilometers more than the direct route. The reason for that is the security. You try to avoid isolated areas. But if there are no more isolated areas in the ocean, you could go directly, you could save fuel, and you could save time also, which for people as us that travel a lot, it's something that it's also very interesting.
Thanks. We will come back later on this sustainability issue, but first I want to just comment couple of things that they didn't comment. They have talked about 2 constellations for those who are not in the sector. To give you an idea what a constellation means, Maria talked about OneWeb constellation, and this is a constellation for communication, and they have now like 600 satellites, right?
650.
More than 600 satellites. Inmaculada is talking about this statistical constellation. You will need 240 satellites, right?
More or less, yes.
So in between this table, these 2 girls, they will be related to more than 700 satellites. And just to compare, we have launched up to now 17,000 satellites, and they will be related to 600. The plans into the near future, 2030, is like we are going to launch 70,000, 70. So somebody has to put all those satellites into space, and I think the best person to talk about that is Raul. Raul, how are we going to do that? which is your role in that?
Yes. So yes, no, as we stay speaking during this morning about space business, somebody needs to launch all that mass into orbit. So our business, PLD Space Business, is super easy to understand. So we're a transportation company. So we move mass from point A to point B. Point B, it's Earth orbit. And we are following and we are, let me say, studying that new, let me say, demand, because the market is there. We have been working in that industry at national, European, and international level since the 50s. So today, the thing that there's changing, it's the demand. So there is more demand, we need more data, we need more quality of that data, we need more responsiveness, we want to have, let me say, that big brother in the space doing pictures, sending, because it's a humankind need. So this is why, in our opinion, that industry, it's, let me say, growing or moving to the next step. You know, we start with big institutional missions. Everybody remembers, no, the man landing on the moon. And today's space industry is solving, let me say, our problems today. So from PLD Space, we are trying to be enable and to facilitate the mission of that guys. You know, so we plan to. Let me say, to reduce the time to orbit and to be more cheap and to, our main business is to launch dedicated small satellites, because that platform sometimes weighs a tons, but sometimes not. Sometimes it's a very small platform, like our colleagues of FOSA present. You know, it's super teeny satellites, and we are trying to be complementary with the existing launch operator that we have today. SpaceX, Arianespace in Europe, and others, but just to with Mirafly try to complement that. So I think we are in the correct moment, in the correct slot to start growing our business.
So you comment one thing is you are kind of complementary with these existing rockets.
Yes.
Maybe you could comment a bit on how the sector has evolved in these 10 years regarding the technical aspects. So
yes.
We are needing smaller launchers because we are sending super small satellites, and also how this sector has changed in regards to the investor perspective, and how have you lived these 10 years?
Yes, no, was super hard, to be honest, because we start with no ecosystem here in Spain, in this part of the vineyard. We found the company in 2011. My first South Summit was in 2016 with no space, so we are super happy, and congratulations to you guys to, you know, to have a vertical space panel today, because I think it's the moment to speak about that business. We suffer a lot because that business to launch satellites into orbit is super hard. Competition is hard. The technological challenge are amazing. Financial challenge is also a big deal. So everything is hard, but we are very well prepared to face that challenge. So I think the resilience of our organization is one of the big, let me say, assets in the company, because we hear a lot of it's impossible, no, you can do it from Elche, oh my God. And you know, to maintain in that 10 years and to have the vision clear and to understanding the pain of the customer, I think that's the way, because we are not reinventing the rockets. You know, the rocket was invented in the 60s. You know, the old guys, they do a proper work. We are just to attend a very clear market niche to understand and to solve the problem of our customer. That's all.
And you mentioned also an issue that I would like to have also Maria's perspective. You mentioned that now we are using more and more space data because we need it. We want to have all that information. Which is your opinion? Which are other main reasons for this opportunity that Raúl is mentioning in space? Is only the need of having that data, or there's something else?
I think that really the potential of the space market was always very, very important. The problem was that traditionally they required a very big investment, very high risk. So the potential investors always are the administrations or big very, very big companies. So it's not so attractive for private investors, but thanks to people like Raúl and other small companies that develop an amazing technology, the advancements provide this reducing cost in launching, but also in satellites. The satellites are very cheaper right now comparing with the old with the old system. So this reduces the risk, and investors can see very short-term or medium-term revenues regarding the before years. So I think that they want to invest. They always wanted to invest, but right now they can invest. And this investment, at the same time, provides the growing of the technology and the innovation. More money, more innovation, more technology, more ideas. So these ideas generate more business opportunities, and this is growing exponentially from my point of view.
You both have mentioned one thing, is that the technology already existed, right? The old rockets, you are using similar technology, and you also mentioned that we can innovate a bit on the technology, but we are reusing a lot of technology. For me, that could be translated, or, okay, there are no challenges. There is a market, huge market, so let's go for it. And I think, Immaculada, you always explain quite well a very simple challenge that you are facing, because yes, the technology exists, but you are facing a pure logistic problem in your constellation, right?
Yep. We have in our constellation some specificality which is different from other communication constellations, is that the fact that as we want to provide a space infrastructure worldwide, we need to have the full constellation in place, in a space, commissioned and fully operational, to be able to provide the service. Usually in most constellations, no matter if they are a communication constellation, as you were referring before, or they are Earth observation communication, even if you have just one satellite, you can provide some kind of services. Probably it's low latency services, high time of revisits or whatever, but you can provide the service. In our case, we cannot provide the service, because I cannot tell to an airline company, okay, you have this service from 9 to 9:10 in this area, and then from 10 to 10:50 in this other area of the world. Either I have the full constellation deployed and operationally working, or we do not have a service to provide. And we also have to keep in mind that this is a safety service. So if we are providing the service, we cannot have downtime. So this is very challenging, because that implies that we have to launch the 250, more or less, satellites in a very short period of time, and we have to commission all of those satellites in a very short period of time. That will imply that probably our target right now is to be able to do all that process in about 9 months. But that probably today will imply that we will cope with mostly all the availability of launch slots all over the world. And that also will imply that if we have to keep a team of operators commissioning the system, we will need, if we extrapolate, taking into account how many operators currently you have commissioning and engineers commissioning a system, we will need a team of between 1,500 to 2,000 operators working at the same time in the same place. So that will imply that we will rent a very big theater or something like that for about 9 months. So that's not feasible. So that implies that there are some challenges, that there are still some very tricky challenges that also imply not only space technologies, but some other kind of technologies that could be artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data technologies, and so on, to be able to cope with this. I always talk that constellations, the development of constellation, it's a change in the paradigm of the space sector. Up to now, the space sector is something very handcraft. You do one satellite, and then you have a team of 20 engineers working in the satellite, skewing the satellite by hand. You and I, we have done it. We have done it. So when you are manufacturing 200 satellites in a short period of time, 1 year, 2 years, launching and commissioning, you can no longer attend one satellite as a specific unit. You have to change from the handcraft paradigm to the industrial paradigm. And this is a challenge that the space sector companies also have to face, which is a change in the way, in the processes, in the way they work, in the way, not only the way they work, the way they design to be able to manufacture satellites, to commission satellites in a very automatized process.
Somehow you are telling us that these initiatives, these startup innovative initiatives, your application for air traffic management will change the whole industry, the incumbents that are already delivering satellites, but they need to deliver satellites in a completely different way, right?
That's it.
So this is a perfect combination between the whole industry and the startups. I would like to come back to you on a topic you mentioned before about sustainability. Your application case will allow to reduce the carbon footprint of aviation, which is one of the major topics nowadays. Could you please maybe elaborate on which other sustainability applications of a space infrastructure are already there, and which are you thinking they will come back in the future?
Well, sustainability right now is a very hot topic in the space sector. We are dealing with sustainability in the space segment, but we are also dealing in sustainability even in the ground segment. More and more, in my company also, we manufacture ground stations for the space sector. And more, all the materials you use, all the environmental impact, you have to take that into account. Of course, for the space sector, sustainability starts to be something really, really tricky. We are more the space situational awareness part of the space, in which for sure you are much more expert than me, and I know I will not enter too much in detail, but it's something that we should take into account more and more, the usage of 3D printing materials, of more environmental friendly materials such as plastics. All those type of things are more and more important. There has been, I think a couple of months ago, there has been a new directive in the United States in which by the end of 2024, so it is like right now, in 1 year, less than 1 year and a half, all the satellites launched by US companies had to adhere to this directive, in which you cannot produce any kind of debris. There are some very, you can think, which are silly parts of debris. For example, when you expand the solar panels, usually there are some, for those that are not related with the sector, usually there are some bolts that you simply just ignite, and there are very, very small bolts. I mean, it's like 1 centimeter bolt, it's no more than that. The problem is that 1 centimeter bolt at the speed that you have in space, it's much, much worse than a bullet. So if that small bolt impact with another satellite, you can completely destroy the satellite depending on where the bolt impact. So for example, by the end of next year, that bolts technology, we will no longer allow in satellites launching from a US space, US launcher site. So all those things are doing that right now. Even if the technology exists and it exists in that part in the ground, we have to start thinking how to adapt our system to commit with all those sustainability issues that more and more and more are important also in the space, because as you mentioned before, there are now, I mean, in the 60s, there are 1-2 satellites every decade. Right now, we have thousands of satellites per year, so we cannot avoid just to do in the space the same that we have done in ground for many years, just use and throw away.
So we are talking a lot on many satellites to be launched. Maria, with the people you are working with, which other applications, because we have talked about sustainability, communications, but your customers are using their satellites for which purposes?
It's difficult to, because we work in the military field. But the trends in this field is to use the satellite, for example, for tracking missiles. This is right now we are in war, you know, and we are in a scenario, a complicated scenario, and they are developing this type of technology for war. But we have other type of application, but most more civil application that are interesting. Also.
Super interesting talk, but we are running out of time. So Raúl, maybe I give you the final thought, which is, you talk to many people that are going to launch satellites, so which will be the main players, which will be the main application of satellite data in the near future?
I think all the topics are growing quite. For example, we prepare the half of our request for quotation for customers are Earth observation applications, because we can deliver with a lot of precision the platform into orbit. The other 30% maybe is telecommunication, tracking or internet connection or IoT applications. And the other one are, let me say, scientific, because we don't want to forget and to push and to continue, let me say, all the scientific missions at the international level that is very important to understand climate change or a moon in Jupiter or things like that.
Thank you. I would be able to talk for hours with you. Thanks all.
Okay.
Thank you to you.
Thanks much, everyone. Good to see you, my friend. Okay, so chair movement now. People leaving, free space here at this side, which is the hardest one to get. Seats are hot, so please take them while you can. Okay. Wow, so many people waiting. Very cool. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome the newcomers. Goodbye the ones that are leaving. Hello, people. You know, this is something that my peers, I don't know if they're listening, are going to enjoy. But many years ago when we started doing South Summit, we started doing it at the bullfighting ring. And this kind of brings interesting memories of the bullfighting ring arena that we used to play with. I'll tell you, it would smell of bull. That is for sure. So it was quite interesting. Okay, so how are we doing? We're all ready? Yes? Free space here if you want to join. You're still on time to join. Okie dokie. People there at the back don't want to join? Okay. Well, so let's kickstart this. So one of the issues with space technology beyond obviously investment is, okay, now we have our gadgets up there, we're doing all these cool things, ground control, whatever, and then the big question comes. Now, how do we make money? So yeah, it's great. Engineering feat, amazing technology, amazing innovation, but now what? So to talk precisely about that, about the new business models that are being created with the Space 2.0 revolution, we have our next and last panel before we announce the winner for the Space Tech competition. So please welcome our first speaker, Victor Montero, co-founder and business and operations director at B2Space. Big applause to Victor, please. Joining him, Olivier Huetz, partner at Red River West. Big applause for Olivier. Thank you very much. To join them, Miguel Angel Carrera, founder and CEO at ABS. Big applause. And last but not least, a fixture of South Summit, and a pleasure having him. Applause for Francisco Ingles, co-founder of OBU. Enjoy, gentlemen.
Sí, hola. Hello, everyone. Okay. Thank you for coming. And thank you for South Summit for making this panel possible. And of course, thanks to the speakers. These are very brilliant people and very busy people, so I know it wasn't easy to make room in the agendas. So thanks. I have to say, I am personally very happy today because a few things. First of all is that today I don't have to speak about me or my company, at least not only. And second thing is that we are talking today about space, and moreover we are talking about the space in the South Summit. And I have a very funny story. Back in 2016, when my company was still a 6-month-old baby, my co-founders and I were finalists. We had funds, a lot of money from the European Space Agency. Hi, Carlos. It was you back then. And we were members of the Airbus BizLab Aerospace Startup Accelerator. And we had a bunch of products, services, and technology specifically designed for space and aeronautical sector. And you know where they put us here? In the travel and tourism category. Because at the moment, in 2016, space and industry was not drawing so much attention. But today we're talking about space. And it was not the only thing that happened to us. There was another thing, is that the first ever non-aerospace clients that we made in our company, we made them here in 2016. Renewable energy companies, infrastructure companies, transportation companies. They are still our clients and they are still out there. But the change is that today we are talking here about the space. Yeah, we've never been exclusively a space company. OBU, it's my company. We work in the nuclear fusion sector, defense sector, renewable, transportation, aeronautical, and space sector. But this year we are feeling the vibe. I mean, I'm feeling it every day. We have foreign clients for which we are developing numerical models for non-Newtonian technology to make microactuators for nanosatellites. We are working for another client that is making its own low Earth orbit constellation. We are working in design of the structures of its satellites. But we are also in the old space. We are involved with the European Space Agency for designing and building devices for the test, for the thermal and vacuum test for Earth monitoring for environmental reasons satellites. So we see the private part, we see the public part, and we are facing now, today, into the new space era. Things are cheaper, things are smaller, things are more affordable, and there are a lot of technical advancements and innovations that they are allowing not only the big government-funded entities or governmental state agencies. People, entrepreneurs, culture of innovation, small companies are welcome. And for that, for speaking about all of this today, we have Victor Montero. He's founder of B2Space. They have a Rockoon technology, rocket plus balloon, with a stratospheric balloon. They want to lift up a small satellite launcher for low Earth orbits. It's self-operated and taking off directly from the balloon. You'll tell us about that later. It sounds like a lot of money in it and a lot of money to be made. So I'll ask you later. There is also Miguel Ángel Carrera. I know him from competing against him for the ITER organization, Nuclear Fusion Reactor. And believe me, this is the guy that the nuclear fusion reactor and particle accelerators and large telescope builders, they call when no one else can do it. He's the CEO and founder of AVS, Added Value Solutions, and this is not a joke. Actually, if I remember well, there are 2 devices that he has designed and built in the rover Perseverance on Mars. Correct me if I am wrong, but it's the surface sample collector and some mechanism for the MEDA mechanism, the wind sensor and environmental control.
Yep.
So this guy has a lot of payload from his company in Spain, in Mars, in the surface. And there is also Olivier. He comes from Polytechnic, best of the best from Paris. And he has been in C-level positions in mobile operator companies, in mobile network operator companies, in telecom companies, digital media agencies, and it's quite few years that he is now a venture capital investor. And now he's a partner in Red River West, that they are funding European companies to compete and develop their businesses in the US market. So we were talking about new space. There is one thing very important about new space also, is that the sector is now filled up with private money. So talking about money, Olivier, first question is to you. How does space look into your investment for portfolio? And how do you think it will look in the near future?
It's a valid question because we're a journalist fund, so we invest in European companies to help them expand to the US. And space tech used to be incompatible with VC investment. You know, it was too expensive and too long. We have to return money to investors within about 10 years, and projects used to be too long. Now, to do a launcher, it's about 6-7 years, costs less than 150 million, so it's compatible with VC money. So this ecosystem is changing a lot. It's also changing because it used to be completely public-driven. Now, if you look at the numbers, there was a study by the European Union 2 years ago that now the public portion of the Earth observation revenue is down to 52%. So it's still the majority that is coming from public money, but a big portion is also coming from the private sector. And the last bit is, why investing in Europe as well? And for us, this is driven by many things, but one of them is the geopolitical changes. And until about 2 years ago, there used to be, you know, the US bloc and Europe and Asia. In Europe, the countries were very fragmented. You had some countries like Netherlands, Nordics, and to some extent Spain, if I may, if I've been told, that were quite happy to depend on the US companies. You know, there was NASA, there was SpaceX. What was Europe about? And then something changed dramatically 2 years ago, in August 2021, with the evacuation of Kabul. So I don't know if you remember that phase, but all the countries were rushing to evacuate their people from Kabul. And some countries, like Germany, like France, they had their own satellite capacity. And they were not dependent on the US. But there are very few, there are other European countries, few ones, that didn't have any capacity. Mm-hmm. And at that time, they said, hey, American people, please help us. And you know what the US did? They didn't. Mm-hmm. And this single event, you know, evacuating thousands of people from Kabul, changed dramatically the dynamic within Europe. And if you've seen what's happened over the last few months, the budget for Europe space tech increased massively. And this combination with the fact that private companies now can innovate, there's a study from McKinsey that says that about 3/4 of the innovation R&D budget is coming from the public sector, but the part coming from the private sector has increased 20 times over the last few years. So now we have a common vision in Europe to create world leaders. And for us as investor, we also have business models now that are more compatible with our profile in terms of return. So we just led the investment in the exploration company, which is a 40 million Series A round, to build an orbital vehicle. So this is a hardware-driven business model. We also believe that the next phase for us in terms of portfolio will be what I call space for Earth, which is leveraging the space capacity to create value on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Sorry, that was a bit dense, but I wanted to explain what the way we see it as investor.
Sounds like a trip there. What's the company, the space exploration company?
Exploration company, it was created by a perfect combination of French and German talents. They create what is roughly similar as Dragon from SpaceX, which is a vehicle that is able to bring supply or people to space stations or carry out experiments in space.
Wow. Well, there is another person here that also understands a bit about space and about the US markets. It's Miguel Ángel Carrera. Mm-hmm. You've experienced and you've consolidated in the old space where money is public, things are big, things are expensive, but also in the new space, like building your own 3D printer for lunar habitat. So I've seen it with my own eyes. And yeah, how does it look first? The balance between public and private initiative, and how do you think is going to be your growth vectors within the space sector in AVS?
Okay, thank you. Well, AVS is a company that was founded 17 years ago, so we are
not so young. We are already around 200 people based in Spain, UK, and the US. So we started off developing what is called old space, or what is called traditional space, based on funding, public funding for large exploration projects, such as asteroids or Mars or now the Moon, wherever. Anything that has a very long return of investment, which should come from the public money, which is a long-term sort of bet. We are already there in Perseverance. It's true that this public money, the return of investment directly from the funding agency is not direct, but it's true that it puts you in a level that you can actually show your capacities and your capabilities in a very harsh environment as it is in Mars. Our experience, it was very, very hard to get into that Perseverance rover. And since then, we have managed to, you know, that the Perseverance is taking samples from Mars right now. There's a further mission in 5 years' time to take these samples, and we already won the hand that is going to pick the samples. So that's sort of the level of the sort of jump that we made since one rover to the next. And that gave us access also to the US market. So, and in both manners, so we sort of raised the TRL of the company in order to make people believe, all the stakeholders, not private, public, etc., that we were capable of taking on large challenges, but also gave us the entrance to the US market, which we were focused in, and we managed to buy a company in 2019 over there. And this gave us a whole new sort of, I would say, a speed, for sure, and a whole new market over there. So, I mean, the US is a complex thing. Well, space is a complex thing right now. It's very difficult to put a name into all the things that is happening. But if you are focused and try to get rid of all the noise that is happening over there, I think there are huge opportunities. And given that the launching price has gone down, there are there are new sort of business models that weren't a business model before, but could be a business model now. So things are changing as we speak, and we are on there. Yeah.
Ramon, these people want blood here. So can you tell us some specific project? Are you tendering for Artemis missions? Are you tendering in the International Habitat from the European Space Agency? Something from China?
I mean, right now we are tendering for the landing gear for the ExoMars rover that is going to be the Rosalind Franklin, and we are bidding for the landing legs, and we will see how it goes. It's going to be hard, but hopefully we'll win.
We'll be monitoring.
Yeah.
Okay, and Victor, as I was saying, and it looks expensive to lift an automatically operated small rocket launcher to the stratosphere, and but looks so interesting, and looks that there is a business in it. So, and there is one thing I love, because it reminds me a lot of my company, is that you have learned how to make money before your product is finished. We did that. And we call it liquid business models, you know. and so can you tell us first the state of development of your technology, also the finance in it, if you're investing or you're getting funds from somewhere, and how does the near future looks to you?
Yeah, so, well, actually, one of the main objectives of our company was to facilitate and enable this kind of new space solution, no, and reduce the cost barriers for the space. And that's why actually our launcher tend to not be that expensive compared with traditional launchers. So that's why we're using a different technology, so lifting with the stratospheric balloon to 30 kilometers of altitude and develop a much smaller rocket. So we reduce more than 70% of the fuel needed in the rocket. So therefore we are using a smaller scale of rockets, therefore cost, etc. As well as giving to the customer an additional benefits on flexibility, on orbit selection, etc. That is a niche that probably the vertical launcher cannot reach, no, at the moment. And for these reasons, so we are reducing as well our funding needs in that sense. So that means that we are still a launcher company. So we have closed more than 4 million between private and public funding. So actually, we born in the UK. but since 2021, so we came here in Spain, so the founder, we were Spanish, but we explore all the different ecosystems here in Spain, and we selected Castilla y León, so to build our development site, as there were all the ecosystem and that was there, and their bet for this high altitude platform that is in place. So actually are now, what you mentioned, the ISABIC that you started, no? So they are starting as well over there. And we found that quite interesting to have this kind of combination between the public support that we can get, but as well the private funding. And in the other side, what you mentioned, so we have been working 7 years already in this project. So the first step has been develop the high altitude capabilities, so how to operate this stratospheric balloon, develop the platform, and adapt everything to this kind of environment of operations. And before going for the Raccoon, that still have a couple of years of full development, we have commercialized, and we are starting commercializing what we call the near space testing and hubs missions. So on that, we already have closed more than 3 million in sales. So it's something that is helping us to keep developing and as well reducing the funding needs that we have. So and as you say, so it's keep developing and surviving for making this dream reality.
Sounds clever. And can you tell us how does your timeline for main milestones in the development, how does it look ahead of you?
Yeah, so well,
when are you testing, for example?
So at the moment, so we are now having like, or splitting like in 2 ways. So the commercialization of the current business line of near space testing, so testing equipment that will go to space in near space condition, no? And in the other side is the keep the development of the Raccoon. So for the development of the Raccoon, we expect this year, so at the end in the Q4, to perform a Raccoon launch. It's a prototype that is as well based on this strategic project that was funded with Castilla y León. And after that is to scale up for a commercial rocket, so for an orbital launch. And that hopefully will happen by 2025, so we'll have an operative launcher for LEO.
It's quite soon. So Olivier, about these business models, that they are new and risky, but they seem a huge opportunity. From the capital investor point of view, what are the main difficulties or blocking points you find when you are assessing? Because, I mean, we say many times new space, but there is the business world also in it. We need to make money on it. So how do you measure that? Or what are the main points, or how do you support your calculations in something that is such a new business model?
So for us, there are mostly 2 kind of business model that we look at. There's what's hardware driven, typically what you do, what the exploration company does. And then more and more we have what I call hardware supported SaaS models. So you launch a couple of satellites, but after that, what you sell is subscription to data, to intelligence, to insights. For us as investor, we're trying to balance our portfolio. So because the exploration company was more of your kind of business model, it's likely that the next one will be more software driven. So we need to balance this. Now, when we look at this kind of model, we're actually quite fortunate in Europe because the European Space Agency, and I'm doing some free advertising for them now, they have a bunch of experts that they can leverage and give to the disposal of investors. So when we look at the exploration company, not only have we known the founder, Hélène, from 14 years, but we also leverage the expertise from the European Space Agency to assess the model. And obviously, we're trying to see where the risk lies. In practice, for an orbital vehicle, the technology is not that groundbreaking. Everybody says, oh, it's like rocket science. But actually, there's a good portion of rocket science that hasn't changed that much. If you look at an orbital vehicle, it looks about the same as the Apollo capsule about 30 years ago. The new innovation that we looked at and the one that we like with the exploration company is the propellant. As you may know, most of the launchers, they use hydrazine, which is extremely bad for everything, human environment and everything. And now there's a new trend, and new companies are using biomethane, which obviously has a much lighter footprint. It's a greener propellant. And for us, that's where the innovation lies, mostly for the exploration company. So we're trying to assess the risk and kind of understand the one we're taking so that it's in line with the expected return that we make.
And are you pushing your risk assuming limits when it comes to space? or you're assuming the same level of risk in every sector you are investing?
So for us, we're quite risk adverse compared to other funds. We rarely take technological bets. Like I wouldn't bet on quantum computing, for example. It's not the fund profile that we have. So for us, the risk needs to be relatively low. In the case of the exploration company, we judge the risk to be close to zero from the team, manageable for the technology, and quite good actually for the market. So in practice, this is likely to be a given profile, but it's not the riskiest profile, even if it looks like it because it's deep tech, it's space tech. We believe that the risk is actually very much controlled here.
Okay, okay. And I remember when we were, as you were also in the ESA week, I remember there was always we were trying to talk about the space technology that will be applied on Earth. Now it's the other way out also. You know, it's bi-directional. We are taking to space technologies that they work very well here. It happens to me. We've been learning and getting some know-how from the nuclear fusion sector, where there is a lot of heat and a lot of vacuum. Also in the space, happen the same thing. So we learn a lot, then we go with this credential and we grow in the space sector. And so Miguel Angel, for you, and I actually like a lot your company.
Thank you.
But you divide in projects, so you are reactive sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes someone has a need, you go there, and sometimes you do proactively put technology into the market. How does the future look like this balance?
Okay, well, we have to...
You have to be very quick, because then I want the public to ask some questions.
I will. We have to live. I mean, 17 years ago, there weren't so many funds, so many startups, so to say. So we had to bootstrap, and the way to bootstrap was to respond to needs. So we have lived on responding to needs. So we have done mechatronics, robotics, etc., to respond to specific needs for Earth observation, Moon, Mars, whatever. In the meantime, we have been able to develop our own product line, both in thrusters for the spacecraft, with water as a propellant, and also we are developing our own line of small sats that ranges between 50 and 250 kilos. And it's very interesting what you said regarding on where to put your satellite, okay? Because normally, for satellite as ours, we are the second on the class, okay? So you are a right share. You are put wherever the prime wants to put you. So it's very important to have this sort of new opportunities for launchers. And then, well, we're launching our satellite next year in June, and hopefully we will be the ones to close the gap between CubeSats and larger sats. So we think we have a nice way to perform. And given that we still don't have any fund, we can be as patient as we want.
Thank you. Thank you. You see, people, these guys don't joke when it comes to space, and it's really a luck that we have them here. So there is time for a couple of questions, maybe, if you want someone in the public to take the chance.
Hi, thank you for everyone's contributions in the panel. My name is Daniel Perez. I'm the CEO and co-founder of iSpace. My question is for Olivier. You mentioned that you guys take no technological risk. That's almost an oxymoron in,
no, of course.
in space.
Lower.
low technological risk. I mean, the exploration company itself, there's basically only 2 companies in the world doing that. There's basically no heritage in Europe for human or manned spaceflight. So you must be taking some technological risk. So, and furthermore, I believe the market there is still kind of unproven. So when you're looking at a startup, let's say, what are the things that really drive you to make an investment? And what can other investors that are out here, specifically in Spain, because we don't really have a space-focused or a lot of deep tech investors, what can they learn from your process in order to make better decisions or make the decision at all when it comes down to investing in a space company?
Okay. So first, I think what was very important is that until a few years ago, there was only like specialized funds and almost only at seed stage. Whereas in the US, if you look at the tier 1 funds, almost all of them have a space tech or 2 in their portfolio. And I think we need more of that in Europe. We need generalist funds like us, like EQT, who collate the rounds in the exploration company, to make this kind of bet. Because in practice, the specialized funds, they are very good at structuring the company and de-risking some of that technological risk that we might take. But we also need generalist funds who will help the founders on the business side of things. And you know, if I take the example of the exploration company, if you know Hélène, the founder, she told us at the beginning, I no longer need specialized funds. You know, I'll always be better than you at making any technological decision, and she's very right, of course. But she was like, I need help to understand how do I address the US market. I need help to think about the branding of my company. I need help to communicate on what I do. And I think that's us as journalist funds, that's what we can bring. Now, if I go to the example of the exploration company, for us, the key driver is exactly what you described. Today, there are 3 orbital vehicles in the world, one in Russia, one in China, and Dragon from, say, SpaceX. Obviously, working with the Chinese and the Russian is a bit more complicated these days. So the whole Western world relies on SpaceX. And when on our side we talked to most of the players, they said, we need competition in that market. We need a team to build something that will be competing to Dragon SpaceX. So the bet we took was, yes, you're right, a bit on the technology, but it was lowered in a sense that Hélène, when she was at Airbus Defence and Space, she led part of the Orion program, part of Artemis, so she's got an amazing track record in terms of delivery. One of the plague of space tech is that there's so much delays all the time. And from our perspective, Hélène is one of the few people who can drive a team to meet a deadline. And for us, that's what led us to kind of win the decision. Very clear ecosystem, absence of competition in Europe, stellar team with a great track record. So as people build more track record in Europe, I think there will be better ecosystem.
Thank you. Fortunately, there is only 30 seconds left. They asked me to be very strict with the time. So you can ask us more questions because we'll be drinking some beers there in the food trucks area. And you'll find us here in the afternoon. Thank you very much. And thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wow, that was fast. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh, boss is here. Good to see you, boss. Okay, so now, for the great moment, we are gonna announce the finalist, the winner of this Space Tech competition. So let's give a little bit of time for movers and shakers. Oh, the fans are back. Okay, plenty of space on this side, which is the hardest one to fill. You can cross. There we go. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, plenty of space on this side, so start moving to this side so we leave that area. Yeah, cross to the side and we leave that area open for the rest. Okay, still more people. You can keep on climbing. Space over there on that corner. People behind the barrier, you can sit down. It's okay. Okay, I think we're all set. Okay, so what I'm gonna ask, because we have plenty of noise there at the back, so I'm gonna ask the people behind the stage to please quiet and lower their voices, because we're gonna give a prize. So the question is, how ready are we to hear the winner of the Space Tech competition? Ooh, we're not ready. Are we ready to hear the winner? This is the winner of Space Tech. I mean, this is hard shit to do. Are we ready to hear the winner? Okay, now we're talking. So it makes me, first of all, once more, my appreciation to all the startups, Space Tech startups that came today here, because what they do is really hard. There's not a very large market to actually come and talk about this for space tech companies. So this is really great that we managed to do this. And it also makes me a lot of, provides me a lot of happiness to be introducing our next speaker, the person who's going to announce the winner, because he's a very good friend. We've been doing this for more than a decade now. And he's right now our beloved and dear Vice President at South Summit. So please welcome Mr. Nacho Mateo.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's always a privilege to go on the stage after your words. Hello, everyone. I'm Nacho Mateo, Vice President of South Summit. And before announcing the big moment of the winner of the Space Tech competition, I just want to share with you that we were amazed about the projects that came to the competition, especially for this vertical. We know that the space tech industry is booming, and we have a strong commitment of helping entrepreneurs in the industry to grow every year. I'm also very thankful to Arribes, to Noelia and Luis. I don't know if you're here, but okay, yeah, because they are the co-organizers of the vertical of Space Tech, and we are extremely happy with the results of organizing this industry. Actually, I can announce that next year we are going to continue doing the vertical for Space Tech. We are going to look for more partners, more companies to come here and bring together with the ecosystem to make sure that we are fostering the industry and we are helping all the entrepreneurs that are working in the industry to make sure that we are giving value to them. So after that, these short words, let me announce the winner of the Space Tech vertical. Some drums or something? No drums? Okay. So the winner of the Space Tech Startup Competition of South Summit 2023 is Fossa Systems. You want to say some words?
Well, I want to say thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. It's true that in the South Summit, there's always been the space tech companies there trying to fit into the different categories, into data, mobility. Not very sure where we are, but we're very happy that this year there's been an initiative to work with the space tech companies to give us our own category. We really appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for giving back to entrepreneurship in Spain. So thank you so much. Big applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Catalyst stage. So for those who are joining us, please take a seat. And yes, while I am just waiting for everyone to take a seat. Fantastic, wonderful. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important part of the whole summit, in my opinion. We have youngsters that are absolutely amazing. They've worked absolutely hard to be here, and if you can just give them smiles while they're presenting to make them feel less nervous. Thank you so much. So, welcome everyone. These young talents, actually what's happening is this is the 11th year of this competition, right? And it's called the South Summit Kids Competition. And this is the 11th year, and the kids have brought together a selection of projects that have been developed during the last school year by their schools, right? Thanks to Fundación Create, the organization behind this kids competition. So we're so grateful that they could join us. And Fundación Create is dedicated to helping teachers and schools innovate and develop students' creative confidence through entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, we know how important this is, right? Okay, so today is the last day of the South Summit, but we've saved the best for last, as we say. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor, this is why exactly we're bringing these students, and what is going on is today we're going to discover what our future generations have in store for us. Okay, so the three finalists are all coming from 5th and 6th grade. you can imagine, they are so young and they're thinking in a different way. It's just absolutely, absolutely incredible. Okay, so they in this school year, they've gone and they've gone an incredible process where where I will explain it in 4 steps, actually, summarize it in 4 steps. Okay, so what is happening is they had to identify a problem, first of all, a challenge and that they want to solve and improve or change. And this could be within their community, within their schools, and so on. And then, second, they had to explore and research on it. Some of the students backstage were telling me that they've started this process from September. Imagine the dedication they've put into this. Amazing. And so the third step was to design, they've designed and prototyped a solution, which is fantastic. Solution orientated. That's amazing. And then the last step was they communicated to their school community, the mentors, and now today to the whole South Summit ecosystem. And ladies and gentlemen, they've learned quite incredible lessons, and some of the important lessons they've learned is about cooperation, co-creation, collaboration. You all remember how it used to be like when we used to do school assignments and everybody had to work together, right? So this was what happened here. And so, please, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for these teams. They're all under the age of 12 years old, which is absolutely, absolutely incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our contestants. Thank you. As well, we all remember at some point a teacher that taught us something that was absolutely amazing. And so, we would like to thank the teachers that worked with these students and in achieving this incredible, incredible goal. Without their dedication and motivation, these students would not be here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for our teachers. Thank you. Fundación Create is a creator of a series of educational programs. It's important to know that they're a non-profit foundation or organization that was created in Madrid 12 years ago with a mission to awaken entrepreneurial talent in children and in youth. They have been training and accompanying teachers along the way. Fundación Create develops programs that change the way children and teenagers learn in schools using innovative methodology and tools. Create and Spain Startup, and all of us here at South Summit believe that motivation is one of the main qualities for being an entrepreneur and developing ideas, and of course, developing dreams. We are now, we are now able to discover that these entrepreneurial qualities can be learned, and also they can be experienced and discovered at a very early age. Ladies and gentlemen, these kids and teenagers may seem very young, but you will witness their great talents. So, Create, during these 12 years, has trained over 2,000 teachers. Imagine, think about it, over 2,000 teachers. That's a lot of teachers, right? And from almost 500 schools. And more than 57,000 students have developed their entrepreneurial mindset and skills. So with incredible track record, I want to introduce you to Create's wonderful, wonderful co-founder as well as CEO, Isabel Navarro.
Well, thank you, Pinky, for this introduction, and thank you all for being here. We're very, very happy. This is our 11th edition in South Summit. So we want to start, I want to start with thanking the whole Spain Startup and South Summit team, Maria Benjumea and her whole team, who have achieved one more year being here in South Summit. It's incredible. And I want to also thank the jury. We have, I don't know if you all know, but 2 of the best chief innovation officers in Spain are here as jury. They choose always to be here, and this is something I want to thank Maria Carmen del Campo from Mutua Madrileña and Pepe Minguez from Endesa. And today we have a special guest who's come all the way from Brazil, from Porto Alegre. You know, they have 2 editions of the South Summit. And today as a jury, we have Marina Siroski, who, thank you for being here, who's also very excited. And we have somebody who has also is seeing here from the public, the Secretary for Digitalization of Rio Grande do Sul. Thank you so much for being with us. I hope you enjoy it. And we are looking forward for Rio Grande do Sul to have education in their education system, the entrepreneurial programs that we've been developing during these 12 years. We hope to help them there on this, and you have the building blocks to do it, so we hope to be able to help you with that. Well, I just want to be really brief here because the most important is our students. We have 3 teams, and I just want to, I think these 3 projects represent 2 of the main factors that we work for in schools. And they summarize in innovation and empathy. You will see that here in our programs, children and our students empathize with the planet's needs, the planet's challenges, with the whole of society's needs. And they are capable of identifying those challenges, identifying those needs, and with the right tools, they develop new creative solutions to those challenges. And so this is what I think these 3 projects have in common. You will see that these generations are coming with big ideas. They're thinking very big. They have no limitations, and they want to really solve our planet's challenges. So I just want to leave you with them. Pinky, it's all yours. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get straight into it because Isabel has already introduced our wonderful jury. Welcome, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, our first team, their project is called RET, which stands for Renewable Energy Town. And let's start with this. Their school, they come from Gonzalo Fernandez de Cordoba Public School. And their lovely teacher is Jose Maria Gonzalez Moron. This team is composed of the following members, and it's an all-girls team. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Adriana.
Thank you.
Carla Asensio. Carla Chis. Inés. Adriana y Laila. Thank you.
Hello everyone, we are year 6 students from C. Gonzalo Fernandez de Córdoba, and we are here to tell you about our project, The Red.
Did you know that the UN says that by 2050 cities will be superpopulated? Do you think that we should be concerned?
Do you think that we will run out of resources?
There are some questions that we have to start investigating about the problems of our planet and what solutions we could create. What connections we will have in the future cities?
We can't really know how things will be, but we can work together to imagine ways to develop the city of the future.
The Red, the renewable energy town. All the energy used in our city will come from clean energy sources. It will be sustainable and self-sufficient, and it will generate the minimum amount of pollution and waste products. Do you want to visit it? Let's go.
According to Science magazine, by the year 2090, the Iberian Peninsula will be like the Sahara Desert. To reduce pollution, our town will have a lot of green spaces, even at the top of the buildings. To provide a great amount of trees in the city, we will create a tree network to involve people and make them take care of the trees. We will also use the geography of the city, the mountain, to construct houses that can keep temperatures and balance and do it, so we will reduce the energy consumption and air conditioning.
Green transportation will be essential in the red. Did you know that during rush hour, bikes are 40% faster than cars? Our city will be completely bike-friendly, and we will have apps to find the best routes around. We only need to focus on what is in every city: buildings.
Nowadays, 84% of the buildings in Spain are not efficient enough. Our city will have interconnected circuits, heating and cooling controlled by a smart system to reduce the CO2 emission and the use of energetic cement called KGP, which cars store electricity. And our town will be accessible for everyone. It will provide access and mobility to everyone, no matter their conditions. And that's not the end. Our city will use a system of smart pipes that could detect leaks and the count of use of water. These pipes will also have sensors that could detect and attack possible bacteria.
Based on the principles of turbulence, both the pipes and sewage systems will have hydropower turbines, so that every time we flush the toilets or turn on our taps, we will produce electricity. We have also looked into windows that can have solar panels. Perovskite is a type of material that could be used to create thinner, cheaper, and transparent solar panels, perfect for our buildings. We have also thought into other types of facilities in town that could be self-sufficient.
There is a type of ball called socket ball that is able to generate electricity when it is movement or height. It captures the kinetic energy produced during a match and stores that energy inside the ball. Using sonic receptors in the stadium, we will transfer the vibration of them into kinetic and electrical energy.
We will also use the traffic in the town by installing wind turbines at the sides of the roads. Cars and the wind they produce when they are moving will be collected by these turbines and then turned into electricity. And now the final touch. All pavements and roads in the red will be covered with footstep power generators. Every time you step on the pavement, every time your car drives on the road, you will be generating electricity. As you can see, our project sounds very interesting. We would like to live in a place like this. What about you? If you want, you can come and see the model.
How awesome was that, right? So, from our jury, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have Mr. Jose Minguez giving them their feedback, and he's from Endesa.
Well, first of all, congratulations. It's amazing the project you have developed. You know, we have a few categories. Innovation of the project, I'm going to put a super high note because you are being very innovative. I'm very impressed for everything you have chosen. You have looked at all the technologies. This is important. The energy transition has to be with all the technologies, not only one technology, and you have discovered that by yourself. You are touching one of the most important topics, which is cities, feeding the population, green building, heating and cooling, and of course everything has to be interconnected, the smart cities. So I am really amazed. You know, there are a lot of panels, they are talking about these topics, and you have put them all together in your presentation, so congratulations. And I want to end with one important thing, is that, you know, today is 2030, which is the name of SAT Summit this year. Well, in 2030 you will be 19 years, so you will have a lot of challenge that you could do yourself, because you will decide what to study, and you keep pushing to have a net zero economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful feedback. I'm sure the students will take note of it. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next team will amaze you. Oh, thank you. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the next team will actually amaze you. The topic is Topic Zeus, and they are from Colegio Torrevillano. I had to say that correctly, right? And their wonderful teacher is Leticia Fresno. Ladies and gentlemen, this team is composed of the following members: Marta, Antonio, Sarah, and Barbara, and they've been working absolutely hard. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay. Guys, you did.
Good morning. Before starting, we would like to introduce ourselves. We are Antonio, Barbara, Marta, and me, Sara, and we come from Torrevillanos School.
Which environmental problem does our project solve? Did you know that a person generates about 1.2 kilograms of waste per day? That is almost half a ton in a year. For that reason, our prototype is based on waste valorization, which is a process of converting residues into useful products, such as chemicals, fuels, and other resources of energy. As an example, plastic can generate as much heat as natural gas or diesel.
Our prototype, we propose a waste-powered vehicle that is a car that does not use fossil fuels. It works thanks to residues. How does it work? In the reactor, thermochemical processes called pyrolysis and/or combustion take place. The high temperatures generally convert water into steam in a boiler. The steam is released in a turbine whose movement can be used to power the wheels or can be converted into electricity using a generator.
In short, we have an improved hybrid vehicle powered by residues instead of fossil fuels.
And what about the smoke? Regarding the exhaust gases, they can be reused. Another type of thermochemical process called gasification allows us to produce biofuels, where recycling we separate plastic and organic residues. The former produce biodiesel, and the latter synthetic gas. Lastly, the smoke is filtered and bad smells are removed by a chemical reaction in a catalyzer. And which are the benefits? Apart from the personal saving on fuel, our proposal is directly related to several sustainable development goals.
These are a set of targets established by the United Nations to address global challenges and promote sustainable development.
Specifically, with Goal 7, our car combines an internal combustion engine with an electric motor, reduces fossil fuels.
And 13, by using both electric and residues energy, our car can help reduce the release of greenhouse gases that contribute to the global warming. Visit our website www.topictheos.es.
Our motto,
Riding Topic Theos.
waste no time,
Save the earth,
and make it shine. We hope that you learn about our project Topic Zeus. Thanks for your attention. Have a great day.
¡Eso es muy rápido!
How wonderful was that? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's so wonderful. Okay, so to give feedback, we have Carmen del Campo from Motura Madrileña. Yes, and she'll give feedback. Okay.
Well, hello.
Just listen to her.
First of all, sorry for my voice because it's been a very demanding South Summit. Congratulations for your projects. It's fantastic and it's something that is common to every city in the world. And it's not every city, every motorbike. There are many vehicles, and we are seeing some countries that are changing completely, like India, for example. They have huge contamination problems and also huge waste problems. And I would like if you can show me how does it work, because I'm seeing you are turning the lights on. Can you show me? And have you produced it? So have you assembled everything?
The waste is from here, the motor.
It's amazing. I encourage all of you to come then and visit what they've done because it's absolutely fantastic. And congratulations. It's amazing.
These are the tools that...
So thank you so much, Kai. Thank you so much. Congratulations. We should have this kind of cars in all our cities.
That is absolutely amazing. Yes, and towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, you can come and see the prototypes, okay? So, that was amazing, absolutely incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. So, our last team, their project is called Planters, pardon me, and they are from Ciudad Nejapa Public School, and their lovely teacher is Sarah Sanchez. Ladies and gentlemen, this project is the work of Lily, Laura, Rafael, Lola, and Sophia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome them to the stage.
Plantas. It's not working. What is our enemy? Simple, air pollution. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, air pollution is single-handedly responsible for deaths of around 4 million people worldwide yearly. No country is safe from this threat, but however, that does not mean that there is no solution to it. Did you know that if we cover all the rooftop of our school, Ciudad de Nejapa, with plants, we will gain 720,000 liters of oxygen per day? Imagine how clean the air will be if we cover all the rooftops of the city.
Our plan. We intend to reduce carbon dioxide levels and create safe and healthy breathing air for everyone. We will do this by planting trees and greenery on the roofs of all suitable buildings. With plantas, we reduce stormwater runoff, make roof surfaces cooler, help with thermal insulation, attract wildlife such as bees, birds, and spiders, and help achieve 6 of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. For example, 13, Action for the Climate, and 11, Sustainable Cities.
How it works. Number 1, plants. Number 2, moisture retention layers. Number 3, drainage layer and root barrier. Number 4, waterproof membrane.
This is a model of our school, Ciudad de Nejapa. As you can see, there are plants on the top, and this is our plan for the future.
What are the most suitable plants?
Native plants, Mediterranean, to save water, perennial plants, aromatic, and grass plants, and also cactus and other sun-resistant plants. Who are we? We are a group of students from Tescantos, Madrid, and we are representing our local school, CEIP Ciudad de Nejapa, and we are
Rafael,
Sofía,
Lily,
Lola,
and Laura.
Creating these rooftop gardens, we will require cooperation between major plant manufacturers as garden suppliers, public and private entities as sponsors. Plantas is an overseer of plant transportation, preparation, and monitoring. As Audrey Hepburn said,
to plan a garden is to believe in tomorrow. Thanks for your attention, and thank you to Fundación Create to give us a chance to participate. Save the world.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, team. So now you're going to get your feedback from Marina. She's all the way from Brazil. Marina, take over.
Hola. Hello, congratulations. It's so nice hearing from you that you are worried with our environment and you are doing this such amazing place. I would like also to see what did you do here. Can you show me? Wow, it would be beautiful. If the cities have all these rooftops, it would be amazing.
Thank you very much.
Míralos, está divino. Muy, congratulations. Really nice. And hopefully all the cities have this kind of rooftops. And I would say also that you communicate very well because you are all wearing green, you know? So it makes us feel like it's good to see how nice it is. And it would be amazing if all the cities have this kind of rooftops. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes, we're going to be rushing to the arena stage for the closing ceremony. But before we do that, because at the stage, at the arena stage, they'll be announcing the winners, right? That's where they will be announcing them. Okay, so before we do that, though, we'd like to take a big picture. So the picture will have our students. Please, our students, can you please join us at the stage? The teachers, please join us as well. Our jury, thank you so much. And Create and the Creative family, please join us to take up this photo. Okay. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So if you want to just look at the prototypes very fast, you may look at them quickly, and then we'll be joining everybody at the arena stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us at the Catalyst stage.
Thank you.